Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm going to ask for your attention at the front. Hi, welcome to the June 12th meeting of the Parks and Community Services Commission. We're so glad to have you all turn out for this meeting. I feel quite popular, so thank you. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. and I really appreciate how everybody is seated and ready to engage in conversation today. Thank you so much for that. Vice Chair Wright, would you do the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Yes, please stand.
Great, thank you. Ms. Fatua, the roll call.
Let the record reflect all commissioners are present except for Commissioner Hewson.
Great, thank you. So now we're at the point in the agenda, and this is the order that we're going to follow for tonight's meeting for those of you who have not been to a Parks and Community Services meeting. This is an opportunity for there to be public comment, and this is for anything that's not on the agenda. So if you're here to talk about Brentwood Park, you're going to wait until your agenda item. But if there is anyone in the council chambers who would like to make a public comment on something that's not on the agenda, now is the time. Ms. Fatua, it looks like no one is in the council chambers to speak on that. Anyone online?
If there are any members on Zoom, please raise your hand. Chair, there are no hands raised.
Okay, rolling along. We now go to commissioner comments and suggestions, and I am going to start. I'm going to start with Commissioner Dorn Parker.
At this time, I don't have any overall comments at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Kamala.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. First off, thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I just want to give a big shout out to all the Eastside residents who came out recently to share their thoughts on Brentwood Park. Whether you filled out a survey, stopped by to chat at the park last week, I just really appreciated that FaceTime. So thank you for that. And I love the signs, especially the monkey bars one. I love that one. Also, huge thanks to our awesome Public Works team for all their hard work bringing the new batting cages at T-Winkle Athletic Complex to life. It's great to see that project just come together. So thank you to the Public Works team, and I'm excited to hear all the comments tonight about Brentwood.
Thank you. Commissioner Ledger.
Okay, so first, I do want to say my son and his friends suddenly decided to take up tennis. So we really do appreciate the tennis center and how affordable it is. Also, I want to give a shout out to our police department. I witnessed two things. First one is the school I work at. Every year we have a 6th grade versus staff kickball game at the end of the year. And 2 park rangers were going by our back gate during this game. And the kids started cheering to see the police. And so we flagged them down and asked if they wanted to play, and one played on the 6th grade side, one played on the staff side, and they each stayed for an inning, and the kids absolutely loved it. Another one being, I was at the Costa Mesa High School graduation. Parking was at the OCC lot, and the police did an amazing job with traffic control, creating a makeshift crosswalk for everyone. And I witnessed one of them stop a girl on her bike from going in front of a car with just lightning quick reflexes, and then was still very nice to the girl, letting her know to wait. So great job on that. And then with everything else that is going on, I just wanted to do something a little different today, and I wanted to read a couple scriptures. So the first one being Matthew 25:34 through 40. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you? The king will reply, Truly I tell you, sorry, I lost my script place. Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me. The next one, Matthew 5:17 through 20. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For I truly tell you, sorry, I don't have my reading glasses today. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen, will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. Last one is very short, Acts 5:29. Peter and the apostles replied, we must obey God rather than human beings. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for making it out. Thank you for staff for all the great work that they've been doing. There are some things that I wanted to get off my chest. There are some things that are being neglected, especially on the west side. It's really difficult to express how much pressure there is around, and how much how many people are suffering right now with what's going on around. And on top of that, being neglected by or just being forgotten with just something as small as maintenance. What I saw today and I saw last week, today Brightview, it's a company that's hired by the city of Costa Mesa. They came into Shalimar Park, where I'm a resident, and they came in for 3 minutes, dragging themselves out, and just left all the trash behind and debris, parked incorrectly, like a few feet away from where they should have, and just drove off. And the same thing happened this same week on Tuesday. And they stayed for at least for 5 minutes, right? But they didn't take any trash or any of that. And yeah, I encourage everybody here is, if you see something similar to that anywhere in the city of Costa Mesa, report that to 311 or report that to city staff. I think this is something that will encourage and increase positive impact for residents. Just to bring something up, on Sunday there was a shooting at my neighbor's house. It was shot towards them, and I'm wondering what's going on with policing, and I know this is probably not the space for that, but I want to encourage everybody to just pray for for our neighbors, but also ask and be more involved with other people and ask them how they're doing. I feel like sometimes it can be a little chaotic, and sometimes you don't know what's going on around our own neighborhood. I'm sure you guys didn't see it in the news, and it's not the only time that it's happened. So yeah, I encourage everybody to yeah, to either speak up or ask a few questions. Yeah, and I I just don't want to bring up any more information. I think that should be pretty clear. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Wright?
Hi, everyone. To start, my heart is also really heavy with the ICE raids that are targeting our community. I am in support of and really proud of city council members and our mayor for sending out a message of solidarity and safety towards our community. I can sense the fear in our community, and it's extremely sad to keep it on the topic of parks. My favorite park, the park I live closest to, is Lions Park, the airplane park, and the last few days it has been completely empty. I have never seen that park empty. So, yeah. Another big thing I've been working on related to Lions Park is the crosswalk that connects the Lower East Side neighborhood to that park. Unfortunately, you have to cross Newport Boulevard, Rochester and Newport Boulevard. And so I kind of had a video go viral on social media where I was pushing a stroller and there was an old man that got caught up behind me on the crosswalk and a car was turning onto him. So I've gotten a lot of positive response in reforming that crosswalk from the city, from city council members. And so, there's always room for bettering our parks, whether it's the playground equipment in them or the paths that all of us walk to them. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. We are probably going to make the crosswalk longer and maybe even play around with the light order, right? Is that how we would call it? Also, maybe we could change it to not be a left turn yield, but I'll dream big later. And finally, I'm really excited to hear all of the feedback on Brentwood. I am a data nerd, so I loved diving into all of the survey responses. And yeah, I'll save the fun results that I discovered and the data trends for that agenda item. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm going to keep it brief because I know we have a full agenda. Just a few things that I want to say. First, I just want to thank those of you who turned out tonight. I really appreciate you coming out. And for those who aren't here but who completed the surveys, I just want to say thank you for that. I think you hear from some of the commissioners, it's been a struggle for a while, but certainly of late. And I just want to take a moment and to think about, as somebody who's up here talking about community engagement a lot, community really matters to me. So I'm looking out and I'm seeing one community well represented, or at least represented in the chambers, and I really appreciate that. And I'm thinking about the different and distinct communities that we have in Costa Mesa, that we have in Southern California, that we have in California, many of whom do not feel comfortable leaving their homes and going out into public spaces. And I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that when we're thinking about community, that all of those communities matter to me. I want to commend staff for the agenda that we're going to be talking about today, because we see public engagement on this agenda in a variety of ways. It includes, of course, the Brentwood Park agenda item that I think many of you are here to talk about, but it also includes an article or an agenda item around principles and values. And that's something that's very much related to Brentwood Park and is actually both contributes to and derives from all of that engagement. So for those of you who can participate in that conversation, we would like it. But I want to just commend staff for that agenda item. I just really acknowledge the importance of community right now and supporting one another. And then in an awkward transition of comments, I want to talk about social media just really briefly and say that I appreciate how the city of Costa Mesa's Instagram will often put out notices for when there are meetings. For example, I often see the Planning Commission on their Instagram, and I have to say that I feel like the little sister who doesn't get attention. I would love to see the Parks and Community Services and the good work that we're doing on the Instagram channel. Or on that platform. And I think that there's actually a lot of opportunity for commissioners and those who are engaged in park activities and park interests to be represented on that. So just a plea to take that to the social media folks for the city. Let's get PACs represented. I think that is it for the moment. So I will close commissioner comments and move to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to accept and file?
Everyone may vote on their dais. Motion carries 6-0 to approve consent calendar items.
Thank you. Currently, we have old business item number 1, which is the Park Capital Improvements Principle and Values Workshop. I recognize as a mom myself, it is challenging to keep little kids out late, and the longer we go, the more challenging it is, and then the more times I'm going to have to say, everybody has to sit down. Laura, do I need to?
We are at the monthly report for...
So sorry. Director Gruner, I was too excited to switch agenda items. Director Gruner.
Yes.
The PACS report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's go ahead and put a presentation
It's okay. He's used to the prior chair riding right over him.
All right, so this is my monthly update regarding the Parks and Community Services Department. First off, I'm going to try to keep it brief. I know we have a lot of people in the crowd here, and it's just really great to see so much support for Brentwood Park, so I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly. So just a quick update on CIP projects. On June 3rd, we had an opening ceremony for the batting cages over at T. Winkle Park. It was a great turnout and just a nice little opening ceremony for that. I know it's been a long making in the process, and certainly want to thank Public Works for all their support and due diligence on getting that completed. It was attended by Mayor Stevens and Council Members Camaros and Bewley and Commissioners Parker and Kamala. And in that little picture, you can see our mayor taking the pitch and taking a first swing inside the batting cages. And
Commissioner Kamala and Parker couldn't go in the batting cage. I would have just smoked him.
You probably would, but that's why we didn't do that. So, and then just a quick update on the Belair Community Center. So the asphalt is complete, as I reported in the May meeting, and we're just waiting on the striping to be completed, and that looks like it's going to be happening within the next week or so. So we're excited for that and continuing that process, and especially for the summertime and for the summertime programs. Also on June 3rd, not June 3rd, last Tuesday, the budget was approved by council. It was presented a couple weeks prior, or a week prior to that, in a study session, and weren't really any changes to the program. So for our department, it's relatively flat, meaning that we have the same allocated funds as we did in this fiscal year that we're going to be carrying forward to next fiscal year. So, which is great. And looking forward to, obviously, the next fiscal year starting on July 1st. Just a quick update on some of the aquatics programs. So we do have youth and adult swimming lessons. We have private swimming lessons, intro to water polo, aqua aerobics, open swim, adult lap swim, and summer aqua camp. And just some of the events coming up. We do have a dive-in movie night on July 18th. As well as a summer luau on August 1st and a teen dive-in night on August 22nd. So we do have flyers available, and it's also listed in the spotlight for more information on those. Just a quick Fairview Park update. So our volunteer program that was initiated about just a few weeks ago has really blossomed into just a great program. We have currently over 30 registered volunteers coming out pretty much every second Saturday of the month, and just doing a lot of volunteer work with the different restoration projects throughout the park. So it's just great to see that kind of community involvement and really helping shape and restore Fairview Park for this, for Costa Mesa. We also have a very important meeting coming up on July 15th. It's the Fairview Park Master Plan, and Council will be reviewing the technical findings, which have not been released as of yet, and also looking at the recommendations from the consultant as well as from the Fairview Park Steering Committee. So that will be discussed and evaluated in addition to the Harbor Soaring Society's fly field. Just a quick reminder that we are still currently in the nesting season, and that typically goes from February until September. So this is a particularly volatile time for those species that are nesting within Fairview Park and just nesting in general. And it's just a very important time frame to be mindful of that. That's a very sensitive time for them to to go through. So. And again, as always, I just want to remind the community of our social services program. It's a year-round, no-cost mental health service to seniors ages 50 and older, and that's conducted right here at our Costa Mesa Senior Center. It's just a great program, especially with the happenings occurring currently. So if you need more information, please feel free to either come down to the Senior Center or give us a call at 714-327-7550. And then just to highlight some of the upcoming events, so we do have a movie in the park that's going to be this Saturday, June 14th, and it's going to be at Schiffer Park, and the movie is Sonic 3, so bring your kids out, Brentwood people, come out and join us, and it's always a great time and just a lot of fun for the kids to enjoy, run around a little bit beforehand, and then have some popcorn and just kind of enjoy a movie. Also want to highlight a brand new event that we're having, and it's going to be Make Music Costa Mesa Day, and that's going to be on June 21st at Lions Park. And for more information, please go on our website, makemusicday.org, Costa Mesa. The time frame is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And basically, it's just artists, going out and just playing various music, singing. So it's just a really great, fun event for people just to enjoy some great music right here in Costa Mesa. So this is actually a worldwide event, and it's the first year that we're being a part of that, so we're very excited for that. In addition to that, some other upcoming events. Of course, we have the famous July 3rd on July 3rd, and that's from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the OC Fairgrounds. And everybody's welcome, of course. It's a free event, so come on out, enjoy some fireworks, enjoy some music. We are going to have the Tijuana Dogs there again, and they always do a great performance for the city, so we're excited for that. And then just to top it off, we have the concerts in the park, which is on Tuesday, July 8th, 15th, and 22nd, and that's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Fairview Park. And the first band we're going to have on July 8th is going to be Family Style. And then on the 15th, it's going to be Flashback Heart Attack. And then on the 22nd, we're going to have the Tijuana Dogs again. And finally, I do want to just highlight that July is a park and recreation month. It's not just a California thing, as you're probably familiar with Parks Make Life Better slogan, which is the California Parks and Recreation Society slogan, but also the National Parks and Recreation Association, which is at the national level, celebrates July as Recreation Month as well. And it's been about 40 years now that they have been celebrating this month. And the theme for this year is Build Together and Play Together. And together we're building and maintaining sustainable parks and green spaces for current and future generations. Together we're building thriving communities focused on health and well-being. Together we're building high-quality programs and spaces accessible and inclusive for all. And together we help people play and connect through yoga, art classes, picnics, and more. So we're excited for that. Just want to make that an announcement and let the public and the commission know. So with that, that sums up my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Director Gruner, I'm so sorry. I almost skipped over you, so my apologies.
That's quite right.
Commissioner questions? Yes, Commissioner Ledger.
So real quick on Balearic Park, you said the striping is being done this week. Is all the work done on it?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, pretty much they're going to be installing, and of course our maintenance manager, Rob Bryan, can discuss that a little bit further. But yeah, so pretty much once the striping is in place and the hoops are installed, then that will be it for the Balearic Park.
And what about the lake repair for Tewinkle Park? Do we have a start time frame on that yet?
I believe we're going back out to bid on that. No, okay. I'm going to let our Public Works Director, Raja Satharaman, address that question.
Commissioner Ledger, we are working with our contractor to negotiate a final price on that, and after that we'll come to City Council. We hope to bring it in August, and then the construction will be in the fall.
And then one final question. This is going to sound silly, but I'm not a duck expert, but I had a resident ask me if we have relocated the ducks yet, or did they migrate because it's summer?
Migrating birds, so they do migrate, so.
Thank you.
Other commissioner questions? Yes, Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Yeah, just clarifying on Balearic, after the community input, because I know one of the questions was how to create a pickleball court, and what the community decided is they didn't want an actual court, because we know there's a lot of temporary to stripe it, and they would bring, I guess, the community or the people who wanted to play pickleball would bring their nets and go home. So thank you. That was really important to get that input. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair Wright.
Hello. I have a few questions. What warranted these fancy CIP packets? I'll start there. And I have CIP questions.
So Vice Chair Wright, we do every 6 months, we try to put together an update on where we are with some of the significant projects. We don't have every single project, but some major projects that are ongoing.
Well, it's lovely. I'm going to take it home. I'll start with, I'm curious, could you summarize how the Arts Commission discussion went with the skate park?
Yeah, so that was part of the discussion that we had, and they did want to look at, somehow a way for us to incorporate some type of art components, with the future development of that, added skate park features. So we will be evaluating kind of what we can include. It's probably going to be more or less after the project is complete, and kind of see how we can incorporate some type of art components, whether that's on the fencing or whether that's some type of artwork, in the surrounding area where we can put some artwork. But that is something that we will be looking at and definitely incorporating, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that they saw that. Where are we at with the coffee shop RFP process?
Right, so we're currently in the process of finalizing the scope, and then once that is finalized and approved, then we'll go ahead and go out to RFP for a contractor or for an operator to come in and operate that cafe for us. We are looking for a local operator, somebody who's definitely here from Costa Mesa, and that's one of the key criteria is that they have to be, from Costa Mesa, obviously. So, and yeah, so probably we're just a few weeks out to finalizing that, and then we should be going out to RFP midsummer, I'm guessing. And then hopefully a few weeks after that, we will be finalizing that and bringing a contract award to an operator and get the place started.
So exciting. There's a coffee shop coming to Airplane Park, guys. You've probably seen it, yeah. Actually, I was talking to the mayor, and we threw around how great of an idea Northgate would be to run that coffee shop. So I know we have contacts with them. I just want to push that as like a good culture fit, I think. What was my next? Howard, what's the status with Shalimar right now and the fact that we bought the adjacent property?
At Shalimar Park? Yeah, so that has been finalized, and we are looking to essentially demo that building, and, and then look at reaching out to the community and seeing what kind of features should be included with the Shalimar Park redevelopment plan. And so there's going to be more to come on that. But we are looking to, demo that building. It's simply not habitable.
Are there any grants that we're going to have to file an extension for since we're coming up to the mid-year, or are we going to be fine with timelines?
Vice Chair Wright, we reached out to the state about the grants, especially for the Fairview Park projects. I think we'll be meeting the deadlines on all other projects. So they are actually agreeable to extend the deadlines, so give us enough time to complete the projects.
That's great. Well, we got a lot of good stuff in here. Thank you for making these, and thanks for answering my questions.
I just have two quick questions. The first is around the Fairview Park Master Plan and the City Council meeting. What will the interaction be between the Fairview Park Master Plan and PACS, if any?
So at this point in time, basically looking at the committee's direction, so the Fairview Park Committee reviewed, obviously the master, or has been involved in the development of the master plan and making the recommendations. So at this point in time, we're looking just to go directly to council on July 15th with those recommendations. We did have a study session back in January, and that was kind of like the first phase, kind of giving a high-level overview of the master plan. And in this case now, moving forward on July 15th, we're going to get really more into the details and the technical data. But in regards to bringing anything forward to the PACS Commission, yeah, I mean, it's going to go to council first.
Was there a reason why it should go to council first and not to PACS?
I think just from the preliminary process and just looking at the, I mean, really, this should have been kind of going to council back in January, I mean, actually February. So with the delay of kind of pushing this project out, we felt like moving it forward quickly and just bringing it straight to council, because there's a lot of input and feedback from the community and really expressing a desire to see that master plan move forward.
I recognize it's too late in the process to change it, that it will be seen by council, but my recommendation would be that the way in which I'm seeing the committee's work as contributing to then PACS, who then provides recommendations to council, ideally these types of things I think would come to PACS before it would go to city council, but just registering that for the future, for future process.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Thank you. And then the second thing is concerts in the park. I would love if there are other commissioners interested, if we want to redo the booths, where we could set up some booths, at least for PACS, and be there as a way to do some public engagement and outreach. It could be on a variety of topics. I certainly want to talk about principles and values, but it's an opportunity to hear from people who happen to be at the concerts, but in a way that's really engaged. So maybe we're like in front of the table or walking around. So I think what I would say is if there are other commissioners interested, Ms. Fatua, should we email you? And maybe we could, I know we wanted to do a souped up kind of display, maybe a map of our parks or something. Okay, so if you're, commissioners, if you're interested, please email Ms. Fatua. Yes, Commissioner Ledger, do you want to? Okay. Any other commissioner questions or comments? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Yeah, for July 3rd and concerts in the park, and you talked about how February and September are really important for nesting, for the nesting birds. How will that affect those birds? Is there like some specific decibels that we shouldn't exceed, distance from the nesting areas, if we know of?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no, direct criteria or guideline. I mean, we are aware of that, and we are certainly sensitive to that. Fairview Park has been traditionally always held these concerts in the park. So traditionally, that's kind of what we've been, continuing, and we are looking at and evaluating different locations where we could relocate those concerts. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, and it's something that we are definitely mindful of, and we'll definitely try to, mitigate any type of noise that we can as much as we can. That's why the concerts are really not a very long period, and kind of in the evening. Most bird activity tends to be in the morning throughout the day, and kind of slows down in the evening. So that is certainly helpful, but it is certainly a concern for us as well.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for raising that. I know that when I was the liaison to the Fairview Park Steering Committee, that was a concern for them as well. At this point, is there anyone in the chambers who would like to make public comment on the director's report? Seeing none. Ms. Fatua, is there anyone online?
If there are any members online who wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Chair, there are no hands raised.
Okay, is it okay if I allow Vice Chair Wright to make one final comment? Please.
Hey, so I know that our summer programming is the busiest we ever are, and it's also one of the first introductions a lot of people have to the city. So I did want to get it on everyone's radar that I would love to have some sort of way for anyone who participates in a summer program to provide feedback on that experience after the program is done. So whether they're doing swim classes or one of the camps, if we can make sure to send a survey. Maybe the software, the registration software we use has some automated email we could send, and an end of summer presentation where we could invite them to come comment if they want to. I would love that. Thank you.
Our programs do provide surveys to staff. So we send out to the people who were registered for that.
Maybe if we could participate in those results as well, seeing those would be great then.
Sure.
Thank you.
We could also ask about them at a booth, too.
Yes.
Okay, do I need a motion to receive and file, or not for that? Okay, great. So we're at the point, we're at old business, the park capital improvements principle and values, and I would like to make a motion that we swap this with new agenda item of the approved proposed design improvements for Brentwood Park.
I will second that motion.
Chair Brown, could we actually go in order on the new business item and do the donation item first? Would that be possible? It's a quick item.
Okay. I think we're at the limit.
I think I'm going to go to Brentwood. I'm going to go to
Okay,
Brentwood
thank you.
first,
Just-
and and then we're going to reshuffle
Just want
it.
to check on that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate that, though.
You may vote on your dais.
Yeah, my yes isn't on.
Motion carries 6-0 to move old business after new business items. First new business item will be Brentwood approved proposed design improvements for Brentwood.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua. Director Setharaman, I hand it over to you.
Yeah, Mr. O'Brien, our maintenance manager, will make the presentation.
Thank you, Director Sethraman. Thank you, Chair Brown. Good evening. Good evening, Vice Chair Wright, Commissioners, and residents. Next item before you is a presentation of the plan for park improvements at Brentwood Park. The city plans to replace the aging play equipment and other existing components. The project, as approved, addresses specific existing components. This project does not include other amenities such as bathrooms, sports courts, pump tracks, water features, those types of things. The report and presentation will show the existing conditions at Brentwood Park. Staff is seeking feedback and recommends that the commission approve the conceptual design and replacement of improvements of other park components. Originally constructed in 1978 as a 1.5 acre park and expanded to 2.6 acres in 2007 through the purchase of additional land that formerly held a private school. The existing playground equipment was installed in 1995, is intended for children ages 5 to 12. The condition of the current equipment is safe for play, however, it's certainly showing its age and the amount of use it receives on a daily basis. I think the city has certainly got its money's worth out of this particular setup. Some of the panels are faded and have deep scratches and are definitely showing their wear. You can see some photos of the current conditions. The paint on the support bars and climbers are wearing off from regular use. There are areas of rust on some of the decking, as you can see kind of that lower right-hand photo and the one above that in the middle lower photo. Maintenance staff has performed a significant number of repairs, replaced panels, slides, and other parts along the way in order to keep this play equipment usable over the years. Other existing components include a sand volleyball court. It appears to be underutilized, a reservable picnic shelter, some existing regular lighting, and a user-defined trail that runs along the south side of the park, starting at Monte Vista and kind of terminating someplace in the middle of the park and kind of filling it with grass. So City Council added this project to the fiscal year 23-24 CIP list. Additional funding was approved in fiscal year 24-25 for a total allocation of $650,000. In April of 2025, staff was made aware of a potential grant opportunity offered through the partnership between Game Time and California Parks and Recreation. There was a mandatory meeting in May and a training in May that Manager Villasenora attended, and she's been the driving force on the grant application for this. The grant is due July 7th. We should receive the results of the grant by the end of July. The grant is on specific pieces of equipment, and the amount estimated could be as much as $50,000 in funding. So Game Time did provide a qualifying conceptual design. That design was based on several council meetings, study sessions, commissioner meetings over a couple of years of review through the budget process, and early community feedback. We did take notes from all the public comments, commissioner comments, council comments along the way over that process. Some of those comments include separate requests for separate play areas, age-appropriate play equipment for younger age children. Swings was a big one, benches, shade, and as well as some comments from the community to just keep it a neighborhood park and not getting too grandiose and making a destination park. So all those elements were put into a beginning design, and so proposed improvements expand the playground structure by replacing existing equipment with new elements from ages 5 to 12. We propose eliminating the sand volleyball court, installing a new playground equipment for children ages 2 to 5, as well as an area for swings. We'd add rubberized playground surface, a combination of wood fiber for both play areas. We'd upgrade the lighting, benches, and shade structure. Add a water fountain. That was something that was requested, I think, by commission specifically, and some of the community feedback we received. We'd provide some accessible pathways to the playground. One would be converting the user-defined trail that I mentioned on the southeast side of the park to a more permanent, well-defined decomposed granite trail that would connect Monte Vista and Brentwood Street. And you'll see a little bit more detail in all of these later on in the presentation. With that, I will turn over to Director Gruner to review some of the community feedback that we received.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. All right, so as the commission knows and the community knows, we really wanted to focus on making sure we do enough community outreach and community engagement. And so we initially started off with an online survey that we placed out in A-frames, poster size throughout the park, and making sure that people were able to recognize it pretty easily. And on that survey, we had a QR code that they can easily scan and provide us their input and feedback. In addition to that, we had 3 separate pop-up community events at the park. We staggered them out. We had on June 5th, we were out there in the morning from 9:30 until 11:30. And then June 4th, we were there from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and June 3rd from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. So we really tried to focus on capturing all the different time frames throughout the day. And we basically also made sure that we notified residents within 500 feet that live within 500 feet of that park. And we did some canvassing that we went out door to door, making sure we put on notices and let them know about the survey and also the pop-up events that we had. In addition to that, emails were sent out to all the survey participants to provide valid email valid email notifying them of PACS Commission meetings, which is tonight. We really want to encourage a good public input meeting here tonight and get as many people out here as possible. And then notice of the PACS Commission meeting were posted at the park as well. Again, for those who are just passing by and maybe they weren't on our email list, but at least they can still be notified and made aware that we're having this meeting here tonight. So the survey yielded about 473 participants, which is phenomenal. It's very rare that you get that many people contributing to or providing feedback to any type of project for that matter, especially a neighborhood park like Brentwood Park. So that was really great to see. Some of the questions were, are you currently a Costa Mesa resident? Majority, of course, said yes. About 97 or 98% of them did. How often do you visit Brentwood Park? The majority of the respondents said either daily or weekly, and that made up about a little over 80%. And then there's also quite a few, about 12% that attend Brentwood Park on a monthly basis. The third question was, which age range do you attend Brentwood Park with? The majority are under 18, and it's pretty fair to assume that those are going to be probably 12 and under kids. Obviously there are teenagers as well that certainly can utilize Brentwood Park, but the majority of those respondents were probably 12 and under. And then the second largest category was 35 to 54. And then that was kind of tied with the age groups of 18 through 34 and 55 and older. Okay. I think I skipped question 4, didn't I? There we go. Okay, so the fourth question was, what type of park equipment do you currently use or see others using? The majority were either the playground structure area and the slides, and then that was followed by the picnic area and tables. So quite a few people just come out and enjoy the park, whether it's a picnic or obviously just bringing out their kids. Some people also utilize the volleyball area, with the fitness stations and or exercise. And I'm sure there's also quite a few users that come out with, for example, like a yoga mat and probably do some exercises and stretching and different activities like that as well that would fall under that category. The fifth question, how would you rate the current condition of Brentwood Park equipment and amenities? About 5% said it was excellent, 18% indicated it was good, and the majority beyond that indicated it was either fair or poor. And therefore, obviously that's why we're here tonight, to evaluate the equipment, and we know it's certainly outdated. It's been there for quite some time, as Mr. Ryan has indicated, and it's definitely in need of some improvements. Now, the seventh question, would you prefer the play structure to be a combined for all age groups or a separated section of age groups? And this was kind of interesting because it's pretty split pretty evenly almost. So either way, whether you want the playground equipment to be separated by age groups, one section would be for toddlers who are 2 to 7-year-olds, and then from the other section would be for 7 to maybe 12-year-olds. So that's certainly an interesting result right there, but probably not really too surprising. Either way, I think it's going to be a win, with the equipment, and we'll go into that a little bit further in the presentation. And then here's the eighth question, which type of ground surfacing do you prefer? Wood fiber mulch, rubberized surfacing was the majority of the respondents requesting that, or a combination of rubberized surface and the mulch. So again, we're going to go into the details on that a little bit later when Mr. Ryan is going to take over and really get into the play structure and the flooring and the surface, and we can really have a good, robust, discussion about that. And at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Mr. Ryan, and he's going to talk about the 10 most requested items.
So you see the slide that there was a part of this survey, and I put them in order to the left. But number one, obviously, was swings. 2 were slides. 3, climbing structure. Picnic tables and benches were a huge ask from the community, obviously. Those made 4 and 5. Number 6 was a drinking fountain, which again also was a comment that we had from a commissioner. Playground tower, monkey bars. I saw a sign for monkey bars. And a sand pit and a toddler house. And those were the top 10. I think we've done a great job of incorporating all of those and probably more into the design, as you'll see. There was some additional feedback that we received. It was question number 9. There's 233 comments or suggestions. About 96% of those seem to be overall positive, with just other suggestions, some of them outside the scope, but just adding to what we're doing. 13%, a pretty good number, specifically mentioned the open space, free play, the large trees, the shade they provide, the importance of that, the natural feel of the park, which is some more feedback on some of the pop-up events. I attended the one on Thursday, and that's some of the feedback that I received personally. 4% requested to only make improvements within the existing footprint or do nothing at all. So that was captured. 1% were in favor of leaving the volleyball court in place. Now on to the proposed design. This is just an overlay of the park. I know it's hard to see anything in particular, but you can kind of see where we're proposing it fits into the existing park. So we'll start out with some of the grant information. The proposed playground design at Brentwood Park implements best practices, research published by CORE, which is a Center for Outreach, Research, and Education, and Shape America, which is a Society of Health and Physical Education. It would be on track to be recognized as a demonstration site through CORE's Play On program, which is specifically the grant that we're applying for. The destination would highlight the park's integration of 6 essential elements of active play: spinning, swinging, sliding, balancing, brachiating, which I learned is overhead climbing, which again is the monkey bars. I learned something new. And climbing, which are all proven to support youth physical development and lifelong wellness. 30 minutes of playing on this playground is said to be an extra PE class in school. So I think that's fantastic. Here you can see kind of the overall concept layout. It's nature inspired. It's thoughtfully designed to blend into the beautiful landscape, the trees, the grass, the natural area. It's going to be offering a dynamic and inclusive play for the entire community. There's a tree fort theme that subtly pays homage to the park's mature trees, green space, and it creates just an inviting atmosphere. Improvements to the hardscape and the surfacing further promote accessibility, inclusion, making it easy for users of all mobility levels to navigate the space safely and comfortably. And then shading seed areas nestled under the trees and manufactured shade structures that you can see kind of on the left of the screen and then in between the 2 playgrounds. Those are conceptual designs, so the actual benches and amenities may differ a little bit, but we want to give you some good locations. For instance, I think that location on the left there for the benches, I think there's some pretty good tree cover, so we might be able to move a shade to a different location and provide additional cover and shade. Let's see, on the next slide, so here's an overhead view of the layout. Encourage multi-generational play, multiple access points, comfortable seating areas. There's some expression swings that allow parents and infants to swing together. We'll talk a little bit more of that when we get to the swings. Some inclusive spinner promotes engagement for users of all abilities. Again, we'll see a little close-up of that. The playground is divided into 2 designated areas to support age-appropriate play for ages 2 to 5 and another for ages 5 to 12. So the 5 to 12 is on the left of the screen, and the 2 to 5 would be on the right. The feedback was relatively split. The team felt that having a separate play area was safer for the younger kids. We saw just out there on my own, saw a lot of parents pushing strollers. Just kind of another generation of play that's coming on board. So we thought it was appropriate to separate the areas. And that doesn't mean there won't be crossover, but I thought it was good if parents wanted that option, they would have it to kind of keep their kid away from some of the bigger kids that get running and moving pretty quickly. And it also would offer more opportunity for that multi-generational play I mentioned earlier. The one element that I mentioned that would be worked in the design that's not in here right now is a sand pit. That was the number 9, or one of the top 10 requested. There are 2 viable options to add that in right now. So we'd look for feedback from the commission on those options. One is to just have a smaller pit in that 2 to 5 age range, either at that top right corner or bottom right corner of that. Can you see my cursor? Okay, so there or there. The other option is, this is rubberized play surface, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Both of these blue areas, this is what we propose to have wood fiber mulch. The other option would be to convert the wood fiber mulch to a large sand play area. So that's another option. One of the things that you'll see in this layout right now is this little black track around the outside. That is currently not in the cost estimates. So that would be an additional if we had budget to do that. It's a rather expensive feature. However, if we were to make that center section a sand play area, that would probably provide the budget to have a little cycle track around the outside, which is something that was mentioned in some of the surveys. So that's those 2 options, and I can come back to those at the end when we have discussions. So first we'll start at the 5 to 12 play structure. That platform you can see is about 6 feet high. There's a great, it's called a lemon tree shadow play topper, which casts colors down onto the ground. We have something similar at Jordan Park, and it's just a hit. I was surprised by how much kids love the different colors and seeing it cast on the ground and the colors it puts down there. There's 4 slides, one of them being a double slide. There's 7 climbing elements plus the monkey bars. There's walking leaves down here at the bottom, which promotes that balancing portion. There's 16 elevated components, 8 that are accessible by transfer, and 5 that are accessible by ground. Of the 5, there are 3 different types of accessible by ground features. So that's a requirement. You don't want 5 bongo drums throughout and say, hey, we got 5 ground accessible. So there's got to be 3 different components, and you'll see those as we move through the presentation.
Rob, I'm sorry, but you had said monkey bars are here. Can you point out from your cursor where the monkey bars are?
We'll get to that.
So it's not on this structure.
It's not on this slide, but
okay,
we'll get to it.
Commissioner, you got to be patient. He's working through a long presentation.
We'll get there. I promise. So it's another view of the slides. Okay, these are the 2 inclusive play pieces. So this is inclusive whirl on the left, just spinning part. That's part of the grant, that spinning that I mentioned. The bonus part, it's inclusive. It's flush with the surfacing. So a wheelchair can roll right into that feature, lock its wheels. A companion can sit on the bench. There's a seating area there, and they can spin together, which is a fantastic piece. The next option is the inclusive seesaw on the right. And again, this is more of a transfer piece that a child could lay across that middle section, hold on to the handhelds if they're able, and rock back and forth. Or it comes with these high-backed seating, specifically designed for inclusive play, that they can sit in those if they're able to and participate with others in kind of that back and forth seesaw action. And up next are the monkey bars. So, so a little bit of a dizzying view, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to put this in the presentation, but I'm glad I did for Commissioner Dorn Parker. We'll shift over to the 2 to 5 play area. So here's the set of bucket swings, which again is a nice kind of tree look to it, a natural feel to it. There's 2 bucket seats there. We have a tree fort style play system, encourage some adventurous and imaginative play while connecting the kids with nature. There's a small climber, a slide, and some fun activity components. And in here, there's 3 additional accessible by transfer and 9 accessible by ground in 3 different types, so within this play area. Some of those are in this structure here. And then there's these small musical instruments. The musical flowers, they encourage sensory engagement and creativity. Again, in the 2 to 5 play area, there's a nature-themed playhouse and some activity panels. Again, it's all nature-themed and blends in nicely. And finally, the swing area. So this is a combo swing area. Yeah, so there's 2 expression swings. So this is a patented design from Game Time. Other designs, they have tandem swings, but these are the only eye-level swings that create eye-to-eye contact or attunement, which is another word I learned through the process, which is important in early childhood development. And of course, there's 2 regular belt swings in that same area with a large shade structure that covers the entire piece. So on to some of the other improvements in the park. Again, we're improving the concrete access from Brentwood Street. There's already a small concrete walkway, a ramp that's here. If you can see my cursor down on the lower left. The other is to convert what I mentioned is that user-defined trail, which starts over in this area and runs along. We're proposing connecting that all the way across and making sure there's access to the playground from there. We're looking to upgrade the existing line to LED, potentially solar if feasible. We'd have to work with our contractor to make sure that those large trees wouldn't inhibit that, but we've had some really good experience in other locations. It's being included new poles and footing and some additional lighting where needed. So it's not looking at lighting up the whole park. It'll be consistent with the existing lighting to light the pathways, the playground, and those types of things. Also, we'd be replacing the existing wood structure, hopefully with a new metal structure, and then add shaded benches and seating. Here's some of the samples. This is a sample photo of the DG pathway. This is the one we have at Tanager Park. It works nicely. It looks natural, kind of meanders through the park. It's just a nice little walking path. Sample of the metal shade structure. This one's at Tewinkle Park, but we have these at a couple other parks. This is a sample on the right of the solar lighting. Right now, we just installed those at the tennis center parking lot. There's some large trees right there in that area. They're doing well. We've kind of checked on them at nighttime, checked on them in the morning. We do checks when it's overcast, and these lights work really, really well. So this is something we'd look at incorporating. It also helps with maintenance and reducing vandalism from wire theft. So any feedback received from the Parks and Community Services Commission would be included in the design, shared with City Council at the award of the contract to purchase materials. A separate construction contract will be executed for the installation of the playground, the surfacing, the shade structure, lighting, and access improvements. Construction of the playground, if approved, could begin early to late fall, completed by December. That's one of the requirements of the grant, is that we have to complete construction by December of 2025. I see Commissioner Wright's eyes kind of, it's a doable timeline. We've talked about this with the designer. The designer is the manufacturer, and they're the ones that are participating in this grant. So they've guaranteed me, if we're progressing, that we'll meet that deadline without an issue. Construction areas of closure would be confined to those that are under construction. So the playground, the DG path, some of those areas. So during construction, a large portion of the park will remain open. That'll be largely the turf area, the grass areas, and open spaces. And obviously, we'll try to be minimizing the impact to park goers during construction. There'd be no need for tree removals. Obviously, we're going to work on minimizing impact to trees. There's a lot of huge mature trees. The community feedback we got all around values those trees, as do we. So we're going to work diligently to minimize the impact on those and make sure we're not intruding into the root zones too much. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for that very thorough presentation. I know there was a lot to work through. Normally what we do, this is the point where commissioners can ask questions, and usually we have a lot of questions, and so that would require you sitting there. So here's what I'm going to propose. We ask necessary questions, just the bare minimum necessary questions to start. And while we're asking those questions, anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment, you can line up at either of the microphones. We'll ask our questions, and once we're done asking those questions, we will then invite for public comment, and then we can come back and ask more questions and have more of a dialogue. Does that sound okay to folks? Okay, so at this point, anyone who would like to make a public comment, please go ahead and line up at the podiums. We're going to start with questions here, and then I will turn it over to you all. Are there commissioner questions? Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
So my question was with DG installation and other small structures that require digging deeper than 4 inches. What is the, you mentioned you wanted to minimize the root damage. What do you base that off of weight? Because I know heavy equipment will impact and compact the root systems, and you'll see decline within 10 years after the compaction. What ways are you making sure that those trees are minimized, the damage is minimal?
So that's going to depend largely on the area we're working in. For instance, the DG pathway, we're going to try to meander that through the park. We're not doing a straight line, just tearing up roots. So we'll try to meander that through the park and avoid some of those more sensitive areas. Same with the sand pit areas and the play areas. And there is going to be equipment through there. We can do some remediation after the fact if we do wind up running over some roots and looking through some roots. Vertical mulching, things of that nature, aerating, try to decompact some of that as much as possible. Trying to respect the tree canopy and the drip line as much as possible. But anytime that we do a project of this nature, we do the best we can to avoid those areas and avoid heavy equipment.
And we'll try to use smaller size equipment too. It won't be heavy type of equipment that you see on roadways.
Yeah, correct. Much of the equipment is going to be loaders. There's still some weight to them, but it's not going to be large, heavy tractors for the most part.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. It's great information. I do want to give a recommendation. So a lot of times we understand why we should protect the root zone, but we should add a zone where we can protect it from other individuals that are not informed of this information, that are going to be working on the job site. Because I know sometimes the information doesn't follow through with all employees. So just to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wright, you have a question?
Yes. Okay, can you repeat the variables that are still up in the air? So it's a sand pit, turning a dedicated part of it into sand, and then the cycle track. Can you pull that up and show us?
Yes, so we would like to accommodate some type of sand play area. One of those options is to put just a cut out a pit area in this top corner or bottom quarter of the 2 to 5 play area. The other option would be, this is wood fiber, proposed wood fiber right now, would be to take this and convert this all to a larger sand play area, just one large play area. The upside of doing that, one of the most expensive components besides purchasing the material to build it and the building is pulling the sand out and disposing of the sand. So that would minimize that. So some cost savings there, provide that sand play area. We take some of those cost savings and apply them to this kind of little track, so to speak, that runs around the outside. They'd be mainly for small scooters, tricycles. This is meant to be, just a smaller kids' little play area for those types of kind of foot-powered bikes, not electric bikes, not things of that nature.
No e-bikes welcome.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Okay, so guys, there's something we need your help to decide. Do we want a little bit of sand? Do we want a lot of sand to play with? And do we want to have like a small path that you could ride your scooter or your bike around? So if you think you want that, when you talk, you have to tell us, okay? And then for any parents, some things that I saw a lot in the survey responses was bathrooms and a fence related to dogs of some sort. I also know it was the lower fence was in the original mock-up. So if those are variables we have opinions on, please feel free to share in your comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, other necessary questions?
I have
Commissioner
two very
Dorn-Parker.
necessary questions. I want to clarify, because there was quite a few concerns about the lighting, to make sure, and if we look at how the lighting, like from Hammett, so is this going to be updated LED specific lighting? So I just want to make sure for everyone, because I believe there's concern that if we add lighting, we're adding lighting into the homes and into areas that shouldn't be. So can you clarify the type of lighting you're talking about?
Yes, thank you for the question. This would be just LED lighting strategically placed. It would match up and kind of coincide with where we have lighting now.
Okay.
We do have capabilities if there's concerns, if there is a light that may be going into a home. We have shields that you can add to these lights to keep them out of people's backyards. That's the last thing we want. This is low-level safety lighting. We have a dusk to dawn park policy where the park is closed. So this lighting is not meant for play. It's not meant for sports play. It is just meant for security and safety purposes.
Then the other one, which is interesting about, right, is the fencing. So I've heard a tremendous amount, and that's what I need to understand, especially from families, is there's a lot of discussion because there's a lot of urban playgrounds that actually have fencing around the play equipment, so that as having a runner myself and also seeing dogs off leash, I know that's been a big concern. So like our commissioner said, this is your time to help us define what are you talking about so that we can make sure we include that in addition to the survey. So that's what I have.
Just one more comment to the
Yes.
fencing. So the fencing, if fencing is going in, it's not proposed in this, it was not part of the
understand
original
that.
plan, we would greatly have to reduce the play amenities. The fencing, we'd have to shrink the play area because there's still that fall zone to consider. We couldn't really expand because there's some grading issues that we've looked at. So ultimately, you would shrink the play, and we'd really have to change the entire concept.
That was important to hear. So
Yeah,
if
that's why- yeah.
So the priority is fencing, there'd be a reduction in play equipment.
A huge reduction and a complete
Huge.
redesign of the play area,
And
the
it's,
entire play
if I
area.
understand this correct, after it gets in place, we could come back in a year or two if it turns out to be a significant challenge for the families. At that point, put it in a future CIP budget.
All the things that were in those additional comments that
Right.
are not captured could absolutely be revisited through a CIP process.
Okay.
Yeah, the fencing would be one of those items.
Thank you.
I appreciate those questions. I would acknowledge we're in a difficult budgetary situation with a lot of competing priorities in the parks. And so I think this is a great time to decide what this park needs. Any other necessary questions? Yes, Commissioner Kamala.
So with the grant, the project needs to be completed prior to December 2025 or by like December 31st?
By December 31st.
And would that be everything completed or just the equipment installation?
So that would be the playground specifically. The rest of the components are not a part of the grant.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Is it easy to switch out from the wood chips to the sand later?
It make things much more difficult because you do have all the equipment that you just installed, the brand new rubberized surfacing that you just installed. Inevitably, you'd be running over all of that and reducing the life expectancy of all of that, and you run the potential of damaging pieces.
We will be turning it over to public comment in just a moment. So we're going to return to our questions and our comments because I know we will have many more. I'm going to hold mine. At this point, we are opening it up to public comment. Just a reminder for those of you who haven't participated in these meetings before, you're limited to 3 minutes. There will be a ding that goes off, and that means you have 1 more minute. So don't be afraid. You still have another 60 seconds. It's also a little awkward because you're going to come up and you're going to talk to us, and we don't talk back to you at that point. It's very one way. So just want to, for those of you who don't know, we're going to be listening, we're going to be taking notes, and really appreciate your comments. Okay.
Chair
it looks
Brown.
like,
Chair Brown.
yes.
I do want to highlight that correspondence was received as well for today's meeting.
Great.
And it's available on the city website.
Thank you, Ms. Fatua. I appreciate that. Okay, we're going to start with you, young miss. Would you like to make a public comment?
Yes. Hello, my name is Kaya, and thank you for all you have done to make these wonderful playgrounds for all the kids.
Thank you, ma'am. And then we
really
will,
looking forward to having swings and like a safe surface to play at Brentwood. Thank you.
thank you. We're going to go back and forth. So if there are public comments over here, and that way everybody can line up. Yes.
Hello, my name is Lynn Toohey, and I live at Brentwood Park. My house directly backs up to the park, and I didn't realize that you couldn't ask questions, so it was only comment. But my comment is I would like to see something done along the cinder block fence that starts at Monte Vista and it ends at my house and steps down with rebarb exposed. I think it's very dangerous, and if the design structure is going to be all these new things directly at my backyard, I would like that cinder block fence to connect all the way from Monte Vista to Brentwood. And in addition to that comment, I'd also very much like the committee to really consider the lighting, and which I think some of those concerns were just addressed, so thank you for that question, because the lighting currently goes into my backyard. And what happens is a lot of these children, you know, they leave. They can leave the park, they go for a few hours, they visit some during the day, they visit during the week, they come once a month. But for the residents around there, we live there all day, every day. So it really matters to us. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, is there public comment on this side? Hello.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Sage, and I'm here on behalf of Brentwood Park. This community surrounding Brentwood Park has been trying to renovate the park since 2008. That is 17 years. We would really appreciate it if you would upgrade our playground. There isn't a lot for us kids to do on the playground. When I go to Brentwood Park, the only thing to do is climb up the structure and go down the slides. It's the same for my little sister, who is 4 years old, and her friends. Also, no one ever uses the volleyball court, except to toddlers who hang and bounce on the net.
Well, actually, there's a video for, can you show that?
I believe there was a video submitted with public comment. Is that correct?
And then, is there a second one? Just. That's what they do. It's super safe.
My grandpa Pop-Pop, when he was alive, came to visit me in 2019. He was disabled and had to use a walker. There was no path to the Brentwood Park, so he couldn't come and watch me play. Right now, there isn't a good place for my other grandfather, Papa, who helps take care of my little sister every week, to sit down Brentwood Park and watch me, my sister, and my cousin, who lives down the street from us, play on the playground. This is very important to me. My Papa is a service-disabled veteran, and I'm so grateful and happy he is involved and active in me and my sister's lives. I love him very much, so does my sister. I am 9 years old, and I've been trying to get a new playground since I was 4. Can you show the photo?
Picture. I think there's just one picture of her at City Hall when she was 4. No? Okay. All right. That's all right.
Okay. In these 5 years, I've attended 10 meetings in this hall, I believe. I have given 4 speeches and learned a lot about government. I think the playground needs swings, climbing equipment, and a top lot. I've seen the design proposal for the new playground, and it has all these things. I love it. I can't wait to play on it. I have a lot of happy memories of me playing at my local neighborhood playground in Venice Beach where I lived when I was little. I would love to see other kids like my sister and her friends and our neighbors be able to make happy memories at the new Brentwood Park playground. We would all be very grateful if you could approve this design for the new Brentwood Park playground. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening.
That's a tough act to follow, right there. Bob Stum, I live directly across the park. I've talked to, more than once. Anyway, and thank you for listening to me. And anyway, to her grandpas, okay? The kids, the bowl, right, which the bowl is in front of it. I live directly across from the park, okay? And it is a wonderful park. I tell little kids there's no crying. It's second only to Disneyland. So come over there and have fun. Anyway, but putting in concrete where that bowl area is, I think is a mistake. I think DG would be a much better option. You could still take his walker, or you could take a wheelchair or whatever to get over to it, because the kids that play in that bowl, they play soccer, baseball, you name it, and they're moving like a lot. And I think if you put concrete in there, I think you're asking for somebody to hit their head, break an arm, something like that. I just think it's a better fit. Anyway, and I think that would still get a grandpa on the, on the surface. The DG on the far side, I don't know. People have been walking over there. I've been living across the street. It's like, Lynn, years and years and years. And the grass still grows. I don't know if you have to have that for ADA for some reason. If that's the case, then again, the DG, just not concrete. What else? The chimes. I like chimes, but living across the street from the park at night, kids go over there, not little kids, not these guys, teenagers and such, and they start making noise and I'll be sitting there, watching the news or sports or something at 10 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden, they're not just talking, they're gonna be making noise. I don't know. I like the chimes for the fact that, they learn something, but living straight across from the park, I don't know. I think it might be more noise than I want to have to deal with. We've already got the airplanes because people in Newport Beach bitched about 20 years ago, and we got the planes turned in, and we're listening to that at night all day long, whatever. So less noise would be better. A question for you. The park still closes at dusk, correct? You already addressed the lighting issue, and I'm sure we can make that work. But the park still closes at dusk, correct? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, welcome. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
What she wants to say. Do you want to say anything? Can you say it?
I'm really looking forward to swings. I've been dreaming of them forever.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, public comment on this side.
Hello, my name is Julia. My family moved to Brentwood Park's neighborhood 12 years ago. I was a toddler and my brother was not yet born. At the time, the park was well overdue to be improved. To be honest, I don't have many memories from the park because even though it was right next to our house, it wasn't a really fun place to play. My family heard rumors about a master plan. It looked so fun and I would have loved to have that park right down the street. But the years went by and now I'm 15, so maybe my time to enjoy the playground has passed, but I would love other families and kids to have a safe place to play. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can you bring up, it's just a picture, it's an aerial view of the surrounding neighborhood around Brentwood, please?
Amy?
Yes, Amy, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name's Amy. I'm a visual person, and I think pictures are worth 1,000 words. I just wanted to give you an aerial image of this area. Vivian, I'm trying to talk, of Brentwood Park. I know that there's some preconceived notions of what Eastside Costa Mesa is, and it's really, you know, as residents, I really loved hearing from Commissioner Garcia Arcos about your community around Shalimar and that we can be one inclusive community as Costa Mesa. And I know there's this perceived notion that, you know, we're all rich stay-at-home wives over, you know, stay-at-home moms in Eastside, and that's definitely not the case. But if you can notice on the map here, all these fishtails are little micro communities. Eastside, this area of Eastside Costa Mesa probably is the most densely area of Eastside Costa Mesa, which is probably why we had so many survey results and we had over like 350 signatures, because there's a lot of young families, and it's of all races, all ages. You know, it's a very diverse, you know, melting pot, which makes it wonderful. But there's not a lot. It's honestly, I think Liz and I have talked about it. It's underparked. There's just not a lot. This is Brentwood Park. Is it? I know there's been residents and families trying to get the park updated for years since they're now graduating from high school and college, but this was never intended to be a personal private backyard. This was intended to be a community resource for all the families of, you know, my father-in-law is a disabled, service-disabled veteran. My own father, who passed away last year, he couldn't access the park. There was no place for them to sit. So we really appreciate you meeting the needs of the community, everybody in the community, by upgrading the park. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sun Ma, and there were 11 other families that live near me that couldn't make it tonight. And they have kids ranging from, like mine, from 16 to 8. Some of them have much younger kids. And we would really love to have a park in our area that our kids could just easily walk to and be able to play and get off of their devices. That would be great. And then I would like to say I really like the sand. I'd like you guys to really consider that, because then we can get that track for the kids as well. And I'm gonna tell you, the wood, I don't know who thinks it's a great idea, but there's splinters and they get into the shoes and it's no fun. So I'm a huge proponent of getting the sand because it's so close to us, right? We can do it. And then secondly, in terms of the fence and the dogs should be on leashes anyhow. You know, that's one of the things. And then if you have a child that is a runner, there is another park very close to us, the Perez Park, and that is enclosed. So that is a safer place for little ones that are runners. So we would like to keep the fences out of it right now, because what we're really proposing is just new equipment. I mean, since, when was it, 1995? It's been a long time. That's all we're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Neil. I live down the street on Monte Vista. I pretty much go to the Brentwood Park nearly every day with my 3-year-old daughter. I greatly appreciate everybody considering remodeling the park and updating everything. It is certainly needed. The one thing I would like to point out is I feel like, you know, on the survey, the second largest community that was there is 35 to 54-year-old people. And I just hope that there's some consideration of additional things to be added to the park. I do think that a bathroom would be helpful for children, but also a consideration of things that, you know, other people and older people could attend. It seems like it's, you know, mainly for children and young teenagers, but other things like a potential basketball court or like Tanager's Park over there, either pickleball courts or a combination of pickleball courts / a basketball court. I do think that the volleyball court I have seen used maybe one time in the 3.5+ years I've lived here. But I would like for you to consider, the potential for other people in the community other than just children for using this park. Another thing was the potential for a walk-around path in the park, sort of like Tanagers Park. Right now, yeah, there is that path that just kind of cuts off, and I think the proposal is fairly adequate, but what if we put one on the other side as well that connected in a loop? Other things were the fencing. I don't think we need fencing. Yes, there's people with dogs, stuff like that, but I don't think the fencing is going to be a overall solution and will sort of act more of a prison than a open area. I also agree that the wood chips are not my favorite. I think that the rubberized equipment would be good. I do like the idea of the sand pit. However, I need to say the location in which it was proposed is under the biggest trees in that park. In the last year or two, there's been significant branches that have fallen down in that area. And I just want you to be aware of the potential safety hazards that could cause injury or worse in that area. So if that is the proposal, then I think there should be consideration of having an arborist or someone that attends to those trees rather frequently, because there have been significant branches that have fallen down over that time. And I think that's it. So I just would like to thank you all for consideration of these changes, and I hope you move forward this time with doing something to improve the park, because a lot of people in our community use it very often, and a lot of children get a lot of happiness out of that park, and it could be even greatly improved for them. So thank you all.
Thank you. Yes. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nico, and I think that you didn't say anything about the trees, so thank you for preserving the trees, and yeah.
Thank you. Yes, step on up.
No, yeah. Everybody get in.
Thank you for trying to make this park better. Can we get swings?
Hi, thanks for having me. My name's John Crawford. First, I really do appreciate the work that's gone into the park, and actually seeing young people involved in government and city government is pretty inspiring. I, like a couple of other folks here, my house backs up to the park, or my family's house, our house, backs up to the park. We're one of 6 houses there on that side. And I've been listening in, and everybody's right, like there have been some plans for this park for a long time. Various versions of the park and various plans, and I've actually stood up here before and talked to the city council about that park previously, and lighting and some of the stuff we found in the park. I think, and even there might have it back in the old files. Won't get into the graphic details of what we found there, but we're really happy with where the park is now, and the work that the city's put into it, how it's been enforced, and we have a safe place back there for our families and for our kids. Totally agree that playground is pretty outdated. It's been a while. I think there's even vandalism in the past, and they've replaced slides and they've replaced pieces of it. It's high time that playground gets replaced. Even if there's some more stuff going in over in the volleyball area, all fine. I would say, and it's come up I think a couple of times. This is so funny, but around the dogs, it's a dog park for most of you guys that don't know. If you just go over there and park on Monte Vista at any given time, folks rolling up, dogs jump out. They've got the special seat covers in the back. It's a destination dog park for the most part. So I'm not sure what the plans are there to rectify that, enforce that, make sure that that's okay. But it is there's a dog mural wall right there. You go onto Google Maps right now and you look at the photos of the park and the ratings of the park, they're taking photos of the dog wall. So just know that the fencing part has come up and everything, fine, but just know that it is a dog park with a play structure at the moment. All good. Or not. That's for you guys to decide. The other part is the bathrooms. killer, like have the space, have the new playgrounds, and that's all good. The bathrooms are sketchy. Wilson Park's bathrooms were locked. I don't know for how long, maybe they're unlocked now, but at one point those bathrooms were locked. Go back to what I presented previously, don't think we want more of that in the park, which the bathrooms attract. You can go to Mariners at any given time when the kids are playing baseball, you go in there to use the restroom, you're not alone. There's some other sketchy dudes, sketchy people in there. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I'm excited about city government. I'm excited for these kids to get involved with city government at a young age. I'm excited for what the park can be. But please, please pay attention to a play structure in a dog park and the bathrooms. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Savannah Patterson, and I just graduated from Kaiser School. Me and my family just moved into Monte Vista Avenue, and I knew that this park would be a good place to play football with my dad. As soon as we got there, we saw that there was a ton of space, and then I realized, why don't we just put in some more room for bathrooms, more trees, and some other improvements. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Yes, welcome.
This might be the last one. We'll see. On behalf of the Friends of Brentwood Park, I would like to say thank you to Director Gruner, the commissioners at PAX, Director Seth Araman, and Rob Ryan with the Department of Public Works for the countless hours you and city staff have spent and invested in Brentwood Park, which included securing the funding, listening to neighbors, and shaping a thoughtful playground design. Your commitment shines through, and our community is truly grateful. The playground you see today was installed in 1995, nearly 30 years ago. Time and ocean air have faded the colors, worn the paint, and left it old and rusty, one of the oldest playgrounds still standing in Costa Mesa. It is long due for a safe, modern replacement. A little quick food for thought. It is definitely ready. This started 5 years ago when a group of parents pushed strollers door to door and gathered 350 signatures from local residents within easy walking distance of the park. That petition reignited the effort you see before you and tonight. Many of these same kids, now are all a little taller, are sitting here wearing green shirts united for Brentwood Park. Since then, neighbors, especially our kids, have filled out surveys, attended pop-up events, and spoken at meeting after meeting. Their ideas have helped shape tonight's proposed playground design, which is separate age-appropriate play zones for toddlers and the big kids, swings, shade structures, new benches, and accessible walking paths that welcome every child and caregiver. At its heart, this decision is not just about the kids. Parks are meant for laughter and learning. They make life better for all. Brentwood Park is our shared front porch, our community park, the place where new friendships start after school, neighbors gather to decompress after work, and community bonds are woven. This is truly a neighborhood park for everyone. Let's keep the momentum going. Approving tonight's design will unlock a matching grant offered by California Parks and Recreation Society that will cover up to 50% of the equipment costs, which could be more than $150,000 in savings. Delaying means paying more later or watching another city claim those grant dollars. On behalf of the 350 petitioners, and especially the young voices who stayed up past their bedtime to be heard, and every future family who will gather under those new shade sails, I respectfully urge you, please vote yes on the new Brentwood Park playground design. And that is it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Midel Gibney. I've been going to that park since I was young, but I've always thought it's been overdue since I was, well, maybe in my young teens. I've always noticed the rust on the bars definitely made it difficult to grip when you were trying to play on there, and often made your hands dirty and kind of smell weird. And also, I feel like there's always been a need for more clear paths, because especially on the far side, to get to the park, you have to walk all the way on the grass, which can sometimes be kind of bumpy and is often kind of tiring, especially if you're a child who's been playing for a couple hours there. So I thought I'd just make that clear.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments in the chambers before I turn it over to online? Okay, Ms. Fatua, is there anyone online?
Yes, and if there are any others who wish to speak, please make sure to raise your hand. The first speaker is Joshua Bauer. You may now speak.
Thank you very much. I'm a resident. I live right around the corner from the park, on Orange Avenue, and I walk by and walk through the park every day. I want to go ahead and say that I'm also a lead green associate and I'm a sustainability consultant. And I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of my neighbors who have kids, but also use the park. You know, if you actually go by the park, the majority of the people there are actually young adults, many walking their dogs and enjoying the green space. And I thought that aerial view was very impactful as it shows the one green space surrounded by a concrete jungle, surrounded by a lot of gray. And so my comment is that it's crucial. I agree. I think, you know, the kids should definitely have safe, updated, enjoyable playground equipment. I think that that's great for sure. And but I'm really I urge you to maintain the beauty and the charm of the park and what it brings to the neighborhood, which is a green space with trees and grass. I think, you know, putting in pathways and walkways and paving over things. I think it's an excuse for ADA compliance. As a lead green associate, I know that that's not the case, and as a city that's prides themselves as being LEED certified, you should know that as well. You know, to pave grass and pave walkways. First of all, it's unnecessary. The grass is small enough where a wheelchair could easily go through, and there's already walkways in place. And if a walkway must be established, then I please urge you to consider not concrete, not pavement, something that blends in with the natural surrounding and that's less invasive and obtrusive. Um, so, you know, again, I agree to you know, to update the playground equipment. I think anything like pickleballs or basketball courts would be an obstruction and you would receive major pushback from the community as most people enjoy it for the solitude, for the green space and trees. So again, I think the playground, you know, to build and develop beyond you know, much beyond what's already there, I think also is a mistake, as the majority of the people in the neighborhood, and people who come in to walk their dogs really enjoy it for its solitude, its green space, and its charm. So that's what I have to say, and I thank you all. I appreciate you allowing for my time. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
Next speaker is Bob Toribio. You may now speak. Mr. Toribio, you are no longer on mute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thanks for the time. And I am a neighbor of Brentwood Park, like some of the other people that spoke this evening. And I am a 100% advocate for updating the play structure. However, when you guys talk about neighborhood, you kind of left out the fact that there are several families, 30 to 40 kids between the ages of 15 to newborns that live in that Fairway, Brentwood, Norse part of the community there. And if you add structures, add facilities, you're going to add traffic. You're going to add more people to the neighborhood. I'm all for updating the park structure. We can all agree upon that. But as for taking things out and putting an additional play structures, bathrooms, a drinking fountain. You spoke of an e-bike gravel path right there. That's going to become a circus. I'm against anything that's going to add more traffic to the park. Again, all for updating the structure, but please don't take out the volleyball park and adding the new structure. We have Perez Park right down the street. 2 to 5-year-olds have the time of your life. There's a gate around it. But for Brentwood Park, let's keep it what it is right now. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Chair, there are no other speakers.
Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Back to us. Commissioner comments, commissioner questions. Vice Chair Wright, you want to start us
I'm
off?
just going to say something really quick before more people leave. If any of you are interested in being on the PAX Commission one day, please find me on Instagram. My name is @Cheyenne Wright, and send me a message. We're always looking for more people to apply. It's an appointed position by City Council. It's not scary at all, and I love it. So just wanted to say that really quick before anybody else leaves.
Commissioner comments, questions. Commissioner Dorn Parker.
I just first of all want to thank everybody for coming and those online and everybody who's been very involved. So I have a couple just clarifying questions. First of all, it's not me who have been asking to add pickleball courts. As everyone knows, one of my things is dogs off leash and pickleball courts. So, and I love the new pickleball courts at the tennis center. So yay team and what you're doing in Blair. So I just want to clarify that. I also want to confirm, is it standard now to have mulch versus sand? I've heard the same thing. I'm looking at a lens now. My kids, I'm going to go through at the end and have a comment from my 3.5-year-old grandson, he's autistic. So it's really important for me to see certain parts that you've included. But I do know the parks, they live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the parks that have mulch, it's a nightmare. The parks that have sand, it's a different kind of nightmare for maintenance. So explain, is that an easy swap? Is that a financial swap that's similar? So explain that a little bit.
So thank you, Commissioner Dorn Parker. So the least expensive option is just to leave the sand in place. However, sand is the least accessible. It's not accessible at all.
Right.
So that's a concern. And the impact protection is not as great in sand for falls. The other concern sometimes with sand is that it does work its way into the pores of the rubberized surfacing and fills in those small pores that make it less spongy as it fills in with sand over time. So it is a little bit of a maintenance issue.
Yeah, because I know one of our parks that's really old and old products is Harper, which has sand next to the rubberized, and it's a nightmare, and the sand redoing it. So is mulch the alternative?
Mulch is the alternative, and it is not as accessible as rubberized surfacing, but it's still considered accessible. That is the alternative that we're proposing.
Okay, so can we, yeah, wait, I'm sorry. So that's what you're looking for. So I don't know, I'm not an expert. I'm just a grandma who shows up and has to try to figure out how to get wood out of socks. So, but
yeah,
I
think that's probably where it's not really splinters, but there's pieces that get stuck in the socks, and I think that's some of the concerns there, but not really necessarily splinters, and that's a wood fiber.
Wood fiber,
specifically made for playgrounds.
Okay, so as far as all that goes. The other question I have is, because I do know a big issue with climate change is making sure there's enough, people have enough water fountains. Is that something that is included in this plan and in the upgrade, is to have a fountain for water?
Yes, you're not going to see it in the design layout, but it is something that is included.
Included in the price, as far as we call.
It's not in the cost that I think I have. The cost that I presented in the report was only for the playground equipment. So that will be an outside cost. It'll be part of the rest of the project.
Because I know
like the lighting and
and then I also know that
shelter.
there's some, because I know there's some issues with, I can't remember what the technical term is, but when rain, and I know there's a culvert and things like this that I know that has to be upgraded, which is separate than the playground, correct? It's like a whole separate public works.
We're talking about drainage?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the culvert where it is. I'll have most of my comments there. And then the only other question I had, because we have an art commission now, has there been any consideration, it went beyond this round, of including some public art? Yes, because this is a perfect park. It's a long meandering. Yeah, I hear how adults use it to exercise their dogs, walk at night. So it would be really nice, since we're known as the arts and we have an art commission, to see if we can do some installation of outdoor art.
Yes, I'm aware that Director Gruner had some conversations with the art chair.
Okay.
I can turn over to him if he has any additional comments, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have the opportunity to walk with the arts chair, and we kind of walked throughout the park a little bit and kind of looked at different areas where we could potentially put some art components into that park. We looked at that mural along the wall with the dogs.
The dog mural.
So the thought was, well, maybe we can do something that either, an extension of that, or maybe it's something that we incorporate with, since there's so many kids involved, some type of component on the wall. So we'll definitely explore that a little bit further.
Okay. Yeah, because it's known for its art. Right now it's known for its dog art. It started a long time ago. So I'll save the rest of my comments for the very end. Thank you.
Other commissioner questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Ledger.
For the dogs off leashes complaint, because this is such an ongoing complaint with most parks, I had just a thought. Is it expensive? You said you created a QR code that you put at the park for the survey. Is that like expensive or time consuming for the staff to do? Because what if we could set up something that would track the time? People could scan it. If there's a dog off the leash, it gets logged. And so now the police know when they could go there and issue citations. That brings money into the city and solves the issue.
Or I know the 311, I don't want to say it, that's such a common complaint throughout the city. I mean, it started with COVID. We have a lot of families who adopted dogs, and it has grown dynamically. So if there's a way and I know we're updating the 311, and there really needs to be under parks to say dogs off leash, and it's not going to get the people there. And I know when I'm there with my name tag, I do say, hey, you know that you need to have a dog on leash. And many are not receptive, shall I say. But they would, in talking to the park rangers on the ride along, they just said they can't, sort of like e-bikes, when the e-bikes, because I was there a couple times just recently, just seeing how people were using it. And they're junior high kids or elementary school kids that are basically on motorbikes that happen to be electric, and they're ripping up the park. And it's not just Brentwood. But I know what they said is log it in, call it in, app it in, because they tend to come in cycles, and then that way they can be there and be responsive. So it would be really important to put that on the app, Dogs Off Leash.
So the issue is not all the residents know about 311 though. So can we get that word out at the parks?
Yes, and Commissioner Ledger, just to expand on that, Commissioner Dorn Parker is correct. I just overhearing conversations and receiving information from other residents, the park rangers and PD has encouraged individuals to call the non-emergency PD line to help develop patterns where they can come out and educate dog owners and make sure that they're aware of that their dogs must be on leashes. So that is definitely an option. As far as the QR code, the cost, I would defer to recreation staff as far as that goes.
I have a couple of questions maybe before we turn it over to comments. Are there any other questions or? Okay, maybe I'll go and then we can take some more. Can you walk me through the paths again? I'm sensitive to, I revisited the park the other day with my daughter, who's a volleyball player, and she saw the volleyball court, and like, no wonder nobody uses the volleyball court, right? Like everything is wrong about the volleyball to play there. But it's such a beautiful park with the open green space. And so can you just walk us through again, like what the pathways look like? I just want to make sure I understand.
Can you see the map today? Kind of an overview of the park.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's one path on this kind of south side where the cursor is now. There's already some concrete there. There's already the beginning of a path from the playground, a little landing area, then a path towards Brentwood Street. So we're just proposing to extend that small concrete path the rest of the way, kind of along that line there. I think in the overlay, it might look a little bit bigger and more intrusive than what it really is. But it's just a small concrete path that provides some enhanced accessibility from that particular area, because we already have an ADA ramp that's there. There's already some concrete there, so it's just connecting those. The other path we're proposing is we call it a kind of user-defined path. where people are already walking, there's benches, there's lighting, and that would be on this side. You can see there's where the sign is here, there's a little concrete path around it. We'd be using DG, decomposed granite, which is kind of a natural looking material. There's a stabilizer component in it that compacts it. And we're proposing to kind of meander that, keeping a natural feel, avoiding the large grassy play areas, and just kind of moving along the area that's already, where people are already walking and using it. There's some lighting there that's existing. And it would just kind of meander down this direction. Again, avoiding the major play areas, and coming along and connecting over in this area. There's another, I think it was a service or a maintenance access under these trees here, and we'd probably connect there. But again, the large green area that's in this here, the kind of bowl area that was referenced, that's all going to stay green. And the larger area here, there's no pathways proposed. It's all going to see green, open space for play.
Decomposed granite, talk me through why that.
It's a solid material when it's formed, so you can compact it. It makes riding bikes, pushing strollers, pushing wheelchairs. It makes it a lot easier. It's a smoother surface rather than the rough and bumpy. Also, you're not dealing with. I know we heard some responses from a survey that were concerned about going through the grass, getting everyone wet, and all that, and the issues there. So that's one of the reasons, and it's a more natural feel. It's less expensive than concrete. It's not as intrusive as concrete. Doesn't get as hot as concrete. So there's a lot of positives to that.
And a second question, the new playground structures, they won't take up any more footprint than what's already there. Will the footprint increase in any ways in terms of encroachment on other space that isn't already used by the volleyball court? And if so, do you have a sense of by how much?
If it does, it'll be minimal, just to get some, because of that slope, it might require a little bit of a small retaining wall or retaining curb. But the idea was to keep it in the existing footprint of the playground and the existing footprint of the sand volleyball court. Okay. So we don't anticipate any encroachment. The one exception is a small pathway connecting the two playgrounds together that you would see in that design, and that was it.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Commissioner Garcia-Arcos.
Yeah, just to follow up on the DG, I noticed that it's going through an existing already compacted area, but it's also going through very mature trees. Can you walk us through what's the process to install the DG? Is there drainage for gravel? How thick is the DG? What kind of compaction? What disturbance are you creating around the root system around that area?
So as I mentioned before, we're going to meander that path outside of that, the drip line of the trees that you see, or the edges of the canopy. So it'll be outside of that crucial area of the root zone. Probably require removing about 4 inches of soil, more or less, and then overlaying with the DG. The DG does allow some water to go through, so it's not 100% just a solid surface. So it does allow some water to penetrate. The rest of the water will run over into the grass area on either side. There is some compaction with a hand vibratory plate. Won't be bringing steam rollers in or anything like that. There'll be a hand compacting machine. Did that answer all the questions?
Yeah, that does answer that question.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of follow up with that.
Sure.
In order for them to keep away from the drip line, is there a way we can budget for some caution tape stakes before the construction comes? Maybe a few $100s at most for labor and then for installation, just to make sure that staff is aware that that zone is should be preserved?
Yeah, we can definitely look into doing that. I have a feeling that some of this construction, they'll want some type of separation from the public as this is ongoing. So that would probably already be built in, but we can certainly make sure that happens.
Okay, perfect. I did want to also mention another comment about a branch, falling close by. I noticed that the drip line does hang over the structures and the swings. Is there a way we can go check that out? Maybe make end weight reduction just to make it a little bit safer. Look at the base, see if there's any rot from too much water at the base. Is there a way to budget for that? And just to clarify, there hasn't been any. Their studies have done for the past 12 years. There hasn't been any fatalities from branches. There has been from epicormic shoot, which is when you top a tree and stress branches come out. Those do fall, but these are looking healthy trees. They haven't been tampered with. So just it would be nice to have a certified arborist to go inspect that, just to make it a little bit safer.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Over this last year, I think you heard a couple of comments about some tree failures and branch failures. It's been kind of highlighted, especially this last couple of years with the wind events. So we have had certified arborists out there several times to review these, and we will certainly be doing that again, pre-construction and post-construction and after.
Perfect. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wright.
Thank you. I'm very excited. It's beautiful. Congratulations. We're going to do this. I love the walkway. I've definitely tried to push a stroller across this park, and it was basically impossible. I also got very muddy. So, yeah, I love the 2 separate playgrounds. I definitely think that's needed in this area, space for the younger kids. The swings are amazing. I mean, it's just so exciting. The water fountain, like the shading, just definitely seeing almost all the top requests in this design. It's amazing that you guys fit it all in. So congratulations. I am genuinely torn on the sand or the cycle track, specifically because Lindbergh has sand and the sidewalk that goes around the playground, and kids do scooter there. And so I'm curious if rubberizing the entire thing is an option rather than mulch versus sand.
So rubberized surfacing is the most expensive element as far as that goes, as far as surfacing. So it wouldn't be cost prohibitive, but we'd probably have to reduce other items to put rubberized surfacing over the entire area.
Like getting rid of the cycle track?
I mean, that would be an option.
Because if the whole thing is rubberized, then kids could ride throughout the whole thing.
Well, so the rubberized, the cycle track right now is not actually a part of it. So that was if we were able to do other elements, keep sand, then that would stay in place.
Yeah. Do you want to say something too?
I mean, one option is, I mean, we can wait to see what the pricing comes out to be, and then if there is funding available, we can look at adding the cycle track. But at this point, it's not in the scope.
Totally. I'm thinking, I'm leaning rubberize the whole thing. If we don't have the cycle track, that's okay, because we have that at the park right next to it. And like the rubber material is the entire park at Lions Park, and you can totally ride a scooter or whatever on that. There's also a sand pit at Lions Park, which I do like. So, you know, like a mini corner sand pit. If I had to pick sand, I'd go that route. But yeah, I think that's what I'm leaning as far as the variables that are still up in the air.
So rubberizing the entire thing definitely adds a couple $100,000 to the project. Oh. So it's not
All right.
as Mr. Ryan mentioned, that's the most expensive part of the project. Sometimes it's like if you make it, especially the whole thing.
And we're suggesting wood mulch right now. Is
yes.
it compressed? It's just free wood.
Correct. Yeah, it's specialized for playgrounds. City of Anaheim uses that exclusively. They don't use any rubberized surfacing. They're all wood fiber, just because of its accessibility and it's a cost savings. And so they it puts additional funding towards the play equipment, which is a huge element.
Yeah, I'm torn. At least that's different than Lindbergh. It seems like wood mulch is also more weather resistant, because sand, when it's rainy, it's like we wouldn't assume that maybe.
It can be. It can be a little bit because there's a little bit better drainage, I suppose.
Okay, that's fair. My next comment is about the survey results. So I analyzed the comments and all of the top keywords, because sometimes when you do survey questions, they're kind of leading questions, right? You're only letting people choose from 10 variables. So of course those 10 are going to be the most popular. So I was really curious about when people were given like a open-ended field, what did they actually submit? And some things we were right on the nose on, like swings, shade, water fountain, benches, seating, those were top. Anywhere mentioned around like 30 to 40 times. Grass was mentioned 86 times, but the top mentioned word was bathrooms with 91 mentions. And 80% of those were positive. So I know that bathrooms are this very controversial thing, but I really want it to be noted that this is one of our most successful surveys, like of all time, and it probably won't apply to this park, but I really want it to be noted, maybe when we're doing our like park assessment matrix, when we are building out future CIPs, bathrooms are critical to parks, especially for kids. So I read every single survey and every single survey response, and we got kids peeing on trees. We're ending playtime early to go pee somewhere else. It's a public necessity. So I definitely want to embrace pushing for bathrooms in future park projects. Maybe there's some formula we can create to optimize where it's most needed. But I really want that to be noted. 91 mentions of bathroom or restrooms. It was the top requested thing in the open-ended comments. Yes.
Quick comment to that. In looking at question number 9, which was kind of the final, we did a little tally on that with regards to restrooms, and it was actually evenly split for yeses and nos. We had 21 out of 233 that said yes bathrooms. 19 out of 233 specifically said no bathroom.
Yeah, I had 17 people out of 91 said no to bathrooms too. And we don't have to get into why they said no. So yeah, and my final thing, I think we should put benches along the DG path. I think that would be a great place for people that are not going for their kids, or people who don't have kids, like people that are going not for the playground, right? They're going to play in the green space, their dogs, they're just taking a nice stroll. I think putting seating there would be a great idea. It's also a beautiful view, so why not? So yeah, my recommendations, I guess, are not to rubberize the whole thing because that's too expensive, that we should prioritize adding bathrooms in other parks into the CIP process or in the park assessment matrix plan thing that we're working on, and then benches along the DG path. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Ledger.
Sorry, so working at a school, I could tell you that the wood, when it rains, swells up and is actually softer for falls, whereas the sand gets more compact. So would we be able to do the wood around the big kid play structure and then the sand around the toddler play structure so they could still have that loop?
That's what we were proposing, to keep the wood fiber on the bigger kid play structure and the sand in that middle area of the 2 to 5.
Got it, thank you.
Other commissioner comments? Yes, Commissioner Kamala.
So just want to thank all the amazing parents who just brought their kids out here today and showing them firsthand how important it is to be involved in our community and to make their voices heard. I'm a father of 2 young boys, 3 and 4, and so it hits home for me. It's just a reminder how just community matters and why we need to have these conversations. I want to thank city staff for all the work that's gone into this project to get it where it is today. Clearly, when you look at the designs, just a lot of intention went into this, right? A lot of what I heard when I was out at Brentwood was keeping the green space a green space, and just the design alone blends into it. Also, the accessibility piece, that was huge. Like, just the thought behind it, just thank you to everyone. But I think if you guys are concerned about DG, or want to know what it's like to have that sand playground, if you go to Tanager, DG's great. You go straight from the sidewalk on the DG path straight to the playground, and there's sand there. So I don't have an opinion one way or the other. Sand, wood chips, all the things get into my kids' shoes and into my truck. So, but I will tell you that they love playing with sand. So I think I was just saying earlier, if you gave them a box of dirt, they'd be pretty pumped. And that's basically it. So just thank you to everybody. And if you guys want to check it out, Tanager Park, it's laid out just like that. Sand, DG's great. I barely keep up with my kids running down that DG path. So it's accessible for sure.
Thank you, Commissioner. No, this is the time for comments. We're wrapping it up. So Commissioner Dorn Parker, and then I'll go.
Okay. First of all, let me tell you what I found out about bathrooms. I was just talking to Director Gruner. The city of Long Beach started an experiment 2 years ago where they have a temporary bathrooms that come into parks. And they have a lot of issues with homeless, with people who are using bathrooms. I'm going to go bring a report back. I've asked them. They have these incredible bathrooms that get used and moved, and they have 10-minute limits. They have lighting and security cameras outside of it. And in the beginning, people didn't believe it. And literally in 10 minutes, it pops open, and they're able, and law enforcement is there in case there's something going on in there. It's an amazing opportunity that community has dug into and has been extremely successful. It's not permanent, it's temporary. They're able to move when they have large events at different parks who need it, then they have things go up. But so there's other opportunities, because we do keep hearing about bathrooms and having young kids bathrooms and having old grandmas. Bathrooms are really important, let me tell you. Well, I need to say a couple comments. First, I really want to thank the current and immediate past leadership of our city that worked on getting the promised Brentwood Parks improvements done now. It has been a long 17 years, originally filled with active uses that turned to deep disappointment once the private school was purchased, torn down, and the city did nothing to move forward. As many of you here tonight and commissioners know, how much commitments to our residents must be fulfilled as best as possible. The time is now for Brentwood Park. As we dive in and understand and develop values, priorities, and processes to move forward for the entire city surrounding parks and community services. Personally, I fully support the concept of 15. It's a new concept that I heard about 2 years ago. 15 minutes to gain access to green space from wherever anyone lives in the city. As part of my values, I want to imprint on all of our parks and PAC's work. The value is what Brentwood Park is connected with within 1 mile radius that really impacts that 15-minute goal. I need to tell you, I'm the old lady here. I've lived in the East Side since 1983. We were young, married, didn't have kids. And I have seen it transformed from a mostly country large lots with city borders in between. We were county until 2012. Most of us were. It moved from small homes on very large lots to redevelopment of 8, 10, and 16 homes and townhouses and apartments, replacing these single residents. Not only did this infilled developments change the neighborhood, and yes, it increased tremendously the traffic, but it also added density. It added less personal space as apartments, condos, and houses with no real yards were built all around us. This created more stress on the city to what we say do something with Brentwood Park. This is a 15 minutes for families, for residents, and for children that they can have access to open space and great play equipment. There are no schools in that zone that could be shared space. This is it. I understand how this complete failure of many that went before us all created a false sense of a park now dedicated to quiet and really no-use active play. The old playground equipment, the lack of ADA accommodations, the lack of sitting, gathering for family space, and lack of shade, consistent shade over structures, happened because the promises made were never fulfilled. However, this was never the intention, because the promises made were, once the school shut down, the surrounding community begged the city to buy the property and not allow another school. An active school with 300 students was 300 car trips in the morning to drop off and in the afternoon to pick up. That was on Brentwood Street, that was on Monte Vista, it was double parking, it was a complete nightmare. So the city agreed. What they did is they did buy the park, they tore it down, they created a wonderful master plan a couple times with activities, courts, updated playgrounds, and yes, there were bathrooms included in those. But this never happened. But what is happening now is creating and innovating playground equipment, shade, benches, picnic spaces that meet the needs of the community's changes and growth of 2025 and beyond. This is so amazing to everyone as we move forward in results with over 400 surveys that were returned. To impact the final design and details of the replacement playgrounds, this truly is a huge step forward, fulfilling a promise made so many years ago. So I thank everybody. It's overdue, and now we have a wonderful opportunity to make good on a promise from 17 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I just have a few comments. I just want to echo Liz, what you said so eloquently. Really appreciate everyone who turned out in person and online and all of the staff commitment to this. So it's been a big effort over a long period of time. So thank you for that. It's impressive to see. And of course, now I want to copy it for everything we do moving forward, right? Because now we see what public engagement and what public outreach can yield, and a variety of parks in our city would benefit from this. So I think at a future commission meeting, I would like to do a postmortem about what we learned, about what went well, maybe what we could do differently, so that as a practice, we can think about how to implement this moving forward across the city of Costa Mesa. So it's a way of saying kudos, and now we get to like follow up with more hard work. But I think it's yielding a good outcome, so worth it. I do think it's really, so for me, the art element is really important. I just want to echo Commissioner Ochoa's comments about this, how this is an opportunity for us to get some art in the park. And one thing that we could, I guess we won't be having sidewalks, so we can't do the sidewalk poetry that's stamped in there, but I think we can consider a variety of different art expressions for the park. That's something that's important to me, so that we begin to move forward in a small way. It's also a way of adding value that goes beyond, you know, the immediate use. So I think it can add inspiration. So that's just important for me. I want to also stress that I think that one or two of the comments talked about, you know, the ways in which a large number of participants of the survey were middle age, and thinking about how we can meet their needs. And again, we're at the point where I'm definitely not interested in slowing this down, definitely interested in moving it forward. But I think that middle age, those needs are ones that we should take seriously. And I think that they're bathroom related too. I mean, I'm just going to say that, right? So I just want us to think about this. And this for me is a lead into the principles and values conversation that we're going to have, right? As we're thinking about how we meet the needs of various residents and how they change over time. The last thing I'm going to say, just to be a little controversial, and I think it, for me, bathrooms is an equity issue. No, I'm not advocating bathrooms for this park right now. This process needs to move forward. I was concerned by some of the language that I heard around preserving this as a neighborhood park, in the desire, how I read it, to keep certain folks out, or to keep folks out if you don't belong in the neighborhood. And as I read that, I thought, that's interesting, because that's actually me. That's actually keeping me, the chair of the Parks Commission, out of your neighborhood park. I'll acknowledge where I live, I don't have a neighborhood park. I raised my daughter, she's now almost 14, without a neighborhood park. Our closest park, I mean, I say this ad nauseum, I'm so sorry, is a 20-minute walk to Lyons, where we have to cross multiple major intersections. You know what, I'll pass. We're gonna drive somewhere. I'm gonna get in my gas guzzler and drive. But I just wanna make a point, like, if I could go to a park, and I visit parks up in Northern California, we'd visit them where my parents lived, wonderful parks that all had restrooms. if I could go to a lovely park like this where there was a bathroom, it would mean that I could stay and enjoy that rather than when Nora had to go to the bathroom, packing her up and going home, right? It's like I don't have the energy to then like go back out. So I just want us to think about that maybe bathrooms is an equity issue too for those who don't have neighborhood parks or who have other circumstances that would require it. And just a reminder, this is a public park, right, with public dollars. And I think we should take seriously what that public means. So hugely in support of all of the work that's gone into Brentwood Park. Ready to open this up for a motion of some kind, but just putting a pin in that issue of bathrooms and thinking about it as more than just a physical need, but an equity issue for the entire city. So, do I hear
I'm going to make the motion to pass as submitted.
Second.
Can there be something in there about the arts? Do I need to add something in there about the arts? That there would be attention to the arts? Director Gruner, wait, Liz.
I will take a friendly amendment to include the arts and also to look at the sand and the little track for around there and understand how that would work within the budget. That I think those are the two main comments we had from the commissioner. Would you second the friendly amendment?
Well, second.
And the arts, yes.
Mr. Ryan, because I actually was raising the arts thing as a question for staff.
It wasn't about the arts thing, but just to clarify the motion with that sand component. That was one of the things that we're looking for feedback. It's something that we are proposing.
Correct.
But it's not
in there.
In the
so
design,
I'm gonna most respectfully disagree with Commissioner Wright. Having a 3-year-old that I've been playing with is we need, and hearing all the sand comments in there, is to put sand so that the cost aligns to be able to do that little track around there. Recognizing that sand, when it gets wet, is more compacted, but also recognizing how many kids throw sand toys down and play in sand, especially at the 2 to 5-year-old.
Real quick, before you make that motion.
Yes.
So you're making a motion to approve the original design they showed us?
I'm gonna interrupt for a minute. Yeah. So Liz, do you want to make a motion?
No, I'm adding to my,
I think you need to start over for us.
Okay, let me start over.
And then we can take, if there's
So let me clarify my motion. Let's clarify my motion. I clarify the motion to add in an art component not in this particular stage, but look at it, how we can do that less expensive. I know I just was at a park where they actually put up weatherproof whiteboards where kids drew on boards because it was in a very dense area. So there's a lot of ways. I leave it up to Art Commission. The other thing is I'm going to suggest that we go with the suggestion of this and change the design of the toddler instead of worrying about a sand pit in a corner, include the rubber with the sand so that we could have the cost included of the little track around it.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ledger.
Yes.
So are you saying around the big play structure?
No. I'm talking about toddler.
So the toddler structure, the sand that was proposed, wood chips for the big structure.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to make sure I know what I'm voting on.
Thank you. No, thank you for clarifying that. Yes.
As proposed.
Okay. And will you second that
second-
motion? Okay,
second.
with that clarification. So
Ms. Fatua, are you with us? Is this okay? Okay, cool.
We have the playground up just to clarify the location. If you guys want.
That's actually useful.
Okay. So if you look at the square playground, where the sand-looking structure is, instead of having a corner for a sand, they would change the material from wood chip on the toddler lot to sand. Understanding that would also give, I'd love to get more bang for my buck, and that would give the option to be able to put the little track around for trikes, bikes, balance bikes.
And there's a second, Commissioner Kamala.
I still second.
Okay. You good? Is there an alternative? Is there a substitute motion, or are we ready to vote on this?
We have to vote when there's a motion in a second.
Okay. We can.
You may vote on the dice.
I don't have a yes option. just not everything is lit up. It's working now.
Okay. Motion carries 6-0 to approve the amended recommendation to include art components and sand in the tot lot area to incorporate the little track. Thank you.
Hang on for 10 more minutes. Thank you all.
Thank everybody for coming and staying as long. Thank you so much.
But you don't have to go home because we are going to now talk about the donation of a memorial tree and plaque at Tanager. So stick around. Mr. Ryan, is that you?
It is, thank you. Just working on. Nope. Good, okay. Thank you. Yes, the next item before you is a request to receive a donation of a memorial tree and plaque to be installed at Tanager Park. The city received a letter from Ms. Natalie Hill requesting permission from this commission to donate a memorial tree and plaque in memory of her mother, Claudine Rosine Hastings, who passed away earlier this year. The tree and plaque would be installed at Tanager Park. You see an attachment 1, the letter that was the requesting letter. According to Ms. Hill, her mother and her father were residents of Costa Mesa for over 58 years. They had 3 children that all attended Estancia High School and Orange Coast College. Claudine was an educator teaching French at Golden West College for over 25 years. She was passionate about the French language, even teaching other classes at the Orange County Lingual Institute. She had many passions. She led many French activities through various groups. She loved to garden, frequenting Home Depot and Armstrong Gardens to pick plants to enhance her beautiful garden that I'm sure was probably the envy of at least a few neighbors. And she had a passion for the outdoors, and she and her family would walk regularly at Tanager Park. Her daughter Natalie mentioned fond memories of spending Easters there with family and their weekly park walks. After reviewing options, the family and staff agreed the most suitable location for the tree would be on the east side of the park, not too far from that meandering walking DG trail that I'm sure that they frequented. You see it's indicated with the green dot on the right side of that map. Here's a few additional photos of the location, one looking out towards the playground and pickleball courts, and then the one kind of looking back at that DG trail. Staff and the family agreed on a magnolia tree, a Samuel Summer. Like other magnolia trees, this is a medium-sized vase-shaped tree. Has beautiful, fragrant white summertime blooms, and then there's a thick green, evergreen shade that works well in that park. There's a sample picture of a flower. That's a rather large box tree, but that's what the tree would look like and how it typically would grow. And of course, a sample of the memory plaque to be installed in the ground near the base of the tree. So staff has reviewed the suggested location, determined it's suitable for a tree and plaque. The installation would have minimal fiscal impact on the city. The donor will incur the cost of the donated items. Staff would supply the labor to plant the tree and install the plaque. The submitted request does meet the requirements as set forth by the City Council. Therefore, we've recommended the Commission approve the request from Ms. Natalie Hill for the donation of the tree and plaque in memory of her mother, Claudine Rosine Hastings. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there commissioner questions? Okay, is there anyone in the chambers who would like to make public comment on this item? Ms. Fatua, is there anyone on Zoom?
Chair, I see no hands raised.
Okay, I'm closing public comment. Commissioner comments? Okay, no public or no commissioner comments. Does someone want to make a motion? Commissioner Ledger.
It's on there.
It's on.
Do I need to
Second.
So I made a motion. Do I need to say anything about it? You?
Yeah. Well, are you approving the staff recommendation?
Yes, I'm making a motion to approve the staff recommendation for the location of the tree.
And I'm second that.
You may vote on your dice. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you all.
Smooth night.
Last but not least. Okay, we're going back to old business. This is the Park Capital Improvements Principle and Values Workshop. And here's what I propose for this. I know it's late, it's 8:30, but I do want to take a little bit of time with this. It's important. There was first public comment submitted around this item. So when we get to public comment, I will acknowledge that again. However, there were 3 commissioner submissions. What I would like to start with is, Director Gruner, I will hand this over to you, but then I propose that those commissioners who submitted something in writing, if they would like to talk to their document, they may speak to their document. At which point we'll open it up to commissioner questions, though I believe Commissioner Garcia Arcos would like to submit a verbal, perhaps a verbal suggestion at that point. You can decide to weigh in or not, and then we can open it up to comment, if that sounds good. So Director Gruner, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in previous years, the PACS received updates on CIP projects in a quasi pre-approved format with very limited opportunity to contribute to the development of the Parks and Community Services Commission CIP initiatives. And at the April 10th meeting, there was expressed a desire to change that. And we kind of kicked things off with defining some core principles and values that would guide the process in developing those recommendations for future CIP projects in a philosophical framework. And during the May 8th PACS Commission meeting, we discussed various approaches and what that would look like, that framework, whether it's charts, pyramids like a Rubik's Cube, descriptive narratives and other formats. And I think at that point in time, the Commission decided to go ahead and provide the opportunity to the commissioners to provide input to staff at their own time frame with some proposed core principles and values that were basically sent in that we could share at today's meeting, and that's essentially what we did. So this wasn't a required assignment. This was something if commissioners wanted to do, to provide their own thoughts of what this would look like. And then in addition to that, the understanding would be to potentially formulate an ad hoc committee, and that, that they can take that opportunity during the month of July when we're not in session to kind of brainstorm and kind of put all those informational pieces from all the different commissioners together and kind of create something, around that could be presented at the August meeting, and then have a further discussion at the August meeting. And hopefully by September, we can finalize what this framework is going to look like that we can then incorporate with the upcoming CIP review process in November, December timeframe. So at this point in time, I will leave it up to the chair to go ahead and facilitate the presentation of those who submitted their own philosophical framework, in addition to those who maybe did not have a chance to submit it, but they brought it today, and then they can go ahead and present it today to the commission, and we can have those discussions and see what the commission wants to do regarding the ad hoc committee.
Thank you. I think one thing to acknowledge is these submissions, one of the reasons that I find it so important is so it's not just those of us on the dais have access to it, but so that folks in the community who want to follow along can follow along. So these written outcomes of what our priorities are as individuals can then go to inform whatever kind of public engagement we want to do around that. So I just want to acknowledge that that was one important piece of this, my interest in opening up the process. If there is continued interest in the subcommittee, speaking for myself, I think it's the most expedient way to do this, but also in a substantive way. A few notes about the subcommittee. There is a maximum of 3 people, 3 of us, who will be allowed to be a part of the subcommittee. Being a part of a subcommittee does not mean that you get the final word, right? You are working on this over the course of the next month, month and a half, in maybe 2 to 4 meetings, with the idea that we'll come back with some preliminary work in August that everyone will review and that everyone will be able to get feedback on, including those who are not part of PACS, but that are public and want to engage. And then the subcommittee will take that the next step to hopefully have something much more formal to bring back to PACS in September. So I just want to be very clear that everyone up here, and including our colleague who is not here tonight, will be a part of the process, just not in an immediate, meeting at 2 to 4 meetings. So before we get into if folks want to talk about their submissions, if you're thinking about whether you would like to join the subcommittee, I think that you need to be prepared to commit to 2 to 4 meetings over the course of the next 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, of anywhere from, maybe 1 to 3 hours, in addition to talking about it offline as well, whatever we want to do in terms of document preparation, and we can decide about the best way to do that. I think that's important. I think that when we do get to comments, it would be helpful for me to know if folks are interested, and what that might look like, because we'll need to make some decisions. Commissioner Ledger, you have a question.
What time would these meetings be?
We will have to determine that based upon the subcommittee. Yep. So it'll be flexible. Yep. But just so you know what you're getting into, 2 to 4. Everyone, however, will have the opportunity to weigh in at the August meeting and then again at the September meeting. We're gonna go ahead. I'd like to do the presentations first if people would like to present. And so if there's a way to build it in, and then we'll come back to comments. You don't have to speak to your document. It's in writing, but if there's any kind of key takeaway that you would like us to know about, this is an opportunity to do it. I don't think you need to walk through all of the comments. I've certainly had a chance to read them, but if there's something you want to highlight or something that's particularly important to you, this would be an opportunity to do that. Commissioner Dorn Parker, do you want to start?
Sure. You can see as I was not here in the last meeting and under the weather, I did look online to hear how everybody was discussing this. So I just added how it was organized. You can all read it, where I thought some things should be added or included or thought about. And then also, I guess I also had a couple comments of how we're going to take this and put it into implementation on kind of a rubrics is what I was thinking. So everything would be evaluated based on what we decide as key criteria. So it's not so, so it's more consistent as we evaluate, and it becomes a system and a process versus how do we do this? So unless anybody has questions about my comments, or if they were not clear, I'm happy to answer the question.
Great. I'm going to have everyone do is do their presentation, and then we'll open it up to questions. Commissioner Garcia Arcos, I'm not interested in putting you on the spot, but I'd heard from someone that you might have a contribution that you wanted to make that you weren't able to email. Is that correct?
I just wanted to see if maybe we can. Thank you. Wanted to see if maybe we can put that up. Maybe not right now, for the next few days, to just have access to it.
I will work with the city clerk to see what options I have. Potentially in the motion with whatever's being done today, I can then include that.
What's that? I'm sorry, what are we talking about?
His submissions.
Oh, okay. Okay. But verbally, you could speak to it if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's gonna go on for a little while. If that's,
do you,
because I have had a lot of feedback on each item.
Is there a key takeaway that you would like us to think about, or?
Yeah. I just kind of made what's more. Yeah, the key criterias, and basically sustainability as number one. Number two is community-centered planning, and then three, equity and access. And so number one was basically update our plant list, ensure our staff is trained frequently with current sustainability certifications so that they are aware which plants are sustainable for climate change and which ones are not. And I think a lot of the choices that we've made, and the reason why I emphasize this is the plant selection that we're currently applying to, let me give you an example. Quercus agrifolia, also known as the coast live oak, is planted right smack in the middle of a grass area. And study has shown that it's moved up north. And with global warming, it also gets summer rot from too much water. Those are drought tolerant plants. And so that I noticed that by Fairview Park, there was 4 to 6 new trees planted recently in the past few months. So it's like, okay, if we are, building this long-term sustainable, just selection of things that we want long-term, we really have to educate each other on this. It's really important. I think I'll just leave it at that, and then I'll make this information just available if possible later on, even if it's in a few weeks.
And we will get it in time for the subcommittee, for sure. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Wright.
Hey, so I think the most important takeaway from my submission is the last section. How does this show up in real life? And a little bit bigger picture to our process and how we got here is kind of what the director was saying. We would get presented kind of a finalized list, and then it was kind of just up to us as individuals who was willing to speak up or speak against it. But I felt that there was no established group culture of how we're going to share our suggestions to City Council. And then also, how do we make sure all of our opinions are weighed equally? So I really think like the scoring method, it does feel like we've agreed on a certain set of values, and now it's about translating it into a practical way that we can apply to a range of different projects and issues. And the problem with being on PACs or City Council is it's not always black and white. And it's also, if you asked a normal person, they're not going to use fancy values words. They're just going to be like, I have dog. I want to walk my dog off leash. And then you're going to have other people that are like, I hate dog off leash. And I don't know how to establish who's right and who's wrong if you have the equal community support behind both of those. So another example that I shared here is the model airplane flying and the summer concerts that we have at Fairview Park. Those are extremely popular community uses of Fairview Park, yet they also inherently are counterproductive to our environmental efforts. So how do we fall on these things? And then I also came up with a third scenario at the end where, say you had equal support for something like revamping a park in an underserved neighborhood, replacing unsafe equipment in a different park, or fixing up a revenue-generating sports complex. Like, those are all 3 scenarios I've seen that council has had to choose from in the past. So how do we weigh these is just a tension that I think I want, and how do we weigh these very practical, real-life scenarios that are happening in our city right now? It's not always going to be as black and white as like, save the birds or not, So yeah, that is my contribution and my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a word or two about my contribution. I think it's really important that whatever we create has a balance between the philosophical and the use value. So like the praxis of it. It's really important to me that people have something that they can utilize, and by people I mean the City Council. But I also think that one of the reasons, that I'm here is that I bring a particular viewpoint or lens or set of experiences that does have some ramification for how I think about what it is that I recommend that goes beyond particular case studies. right? I'm trying to look into the future, into 20 years into the future, and I don't actually know practically what those particular case studies are going to be. But I can think about the values that guide me now. So for me, it's really important that we create something that unites the like both of them. That's not an easy task, but I think precisely to what Vice Chair Wright was saying about it's not always a black and white situation. For me, I live in a realm of ambiguity, and I think it's really important that you come armed with a variety of tools. Maybe I'm not going to use the militarized language, that you come with a variety of tools that you can utilize depending upon the scenario. So that's something that's important for me. I'd like to open it up to public comment. And then we shall talk and figure out what we want to do. I do not see anyone in the chamber, so I'm not going to do that performative act. But is there anyone on Zoom who would like to comment?
Yes, I do have Roberto. Roberto, you may now speak.
Hi, Chair. I'm zooming in from my desktop at home. I'm here actually as Roberto Herrera, Chair of the City of Santana's Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. I've been the chair of the Parks and Recs Commission since June of 2022. I'm here to provide my public comment regarding this discussion. I first, as mentioned earlier, last but not least, we're always last, and but certainly never least. I want to thank you all for your comments on supporting the immigrant community. I think it's important from every level of government that constituents see I definitely see you, so thank you. As it relates to my public comments, I have a presentation that I was able to submit that I'll go over very quickly. The first is in 2022, May, our city of Santana adopted its Parks Master Plan, which outlined the investment that the city intends to make over the next 10 years, its goals, rather. I included it in the email for you to review. I think it's important that the city of Costa Mesa update or review its current Parks Master Plan as a whole. What I really wanted to get into the weeds of my discussion for today was the difference between what's park access and park equity. Park access is simply measured by the distance and the amount it takes to walk to your nearest park. National standards aim to make this 10 minutes or less. Research shows that the closer you are to a park, the more likely you are to access it. And that is different from, park equity. Park equity not only takes into account park access, but a park equity analysis that is outlined in our Parks Master Plan took into account these 4 factors: environmental justice issues or communities that are being impacted by EJ issues, communities that live below the poverty level, race, ethnicity, and communities of color, and areas that are projected to increase in density over time. To put into perspective, the park access is the next slide. You'll see that in Santana, our parks are well distributed. The picture next to it in green outlines those 10-minute access. There's some pockets that are not accessible to certain residents. They don't have access to a 10-minute walk to the park. If you look at the next map, it's park equity. Our city outlined 43 residential areas where it takes more than 10 minutes to walk to the park. You'll see that that map has 43 different areas. The map next to it, when you incorporate a park equity analysis, it actually brought that number down 43 areas to 23 that have the highest severity of need. And so what I want, in summary, I think it's important that as you consider the limited resources that cities have in the development of parks, you need to consider a park equity analysis to give you better insight in where parks should be prioritized. As it relates to the process for
Roberto.
community
Your time
engagement.
is now up. I apologize.
Thank you.
Chair, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Appreciate it. Are there any other public comments?
I see no other hands raised.
Okay. At this time, I will close public comments. Commissioners, comments, interest, Now's the opportunity to talk about it, and then we can make a motion if we feel comfortable doing that. Commissioner Kamala.
I think with comments going along with what I brought up at the last meeting, I think Chair Brown, you kind of put it in your submission, just everything around community-centered planning. Obviously, I think sustainability, safety are priorities, but if we learned anything tonight, it's really the impact of listening to our community and serving them the way they want to be served. And I think if you take the opportunity to listen to that community, it ties and puts at the forefront equity, right? What do you want? Where do you want it? And how do you want it? When we think of safety, you know, it's different for everybody. And so I think community-centered planning, getting input, if we could duplicate just what we did with Brentwood and that outreach for future projects, I think that is going to solve a lot of those challenges that are really perspective-based. And Chair Brown, like you said, philosophical versus practical. I think community-centered planning is very practical and opens it up to different perspectives all throughout our community.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wright.
Yeah, I have a final thought to add. I'm really excited for what we're going to produce. I think in lots of ways it's almost it's so innovative of us, but I think it really doesn't need to be complicated. It can still be very simple, something that we could even hand off to the next commissioners, right? That any council member could understand by just looking at it off of one page. So I almost feel that it would complement our very verbal monologue style of being on a commission. It's almost inefficient in a way, because if city council wanted to understand why we made a recommendation, right now they'd have to re-listen to our 2-hour-long meeting. So I'm really excited for whatever practical sort of tool framework we're gonna create, and think, yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated though. It can be simple.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that the importance of Latino community being represented in this discussion of equity, and I just want to echo that I could definitely be someone that can be leaned on for that as much as I can. And yeah, just wanted to make sure that I emphasize that as well. Thank you.
Are you volunteering for the subcommittee?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Commissioner Ledger.
I was actually going to suggest that he volunteer with so, before he even spoke. So perfect.
Yeah, we were going to voluntold you.
Commissioner Dorn Parker.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear Commissioner Wright. The more complicated, the less effective we're going to be. We really need to I agree, the end product, and I'll leave it up to my colleagues, should be a real simple way to evaluate. So an example is, Commissioner Wright, you talked about the dogs on and off leash. Well, we recognize that there are two sides to the coin. There's a great solution to have, small dog parks where they can be off leash within a park, and then its impact. So I think if it's simple enough, we recognize the priority, because it's also, we have microcosms of communities as we're finding, even though we're a big city, but man, just go 8 blocks on the east side and it's a different community. You go 8 blocks on the west side, or you go out there. So I think the ultimate goal needs to be simplification. We come up with, I really appreciated the key criteria, 6, and then define what do we mean by those 6, so that the key criteria that becomes simplified: equity and access, sustainability, community-centered. But we define it below, so the staff really is very clear what we mean by that and what we're looking for. So we're almost there, and having the subcommittee is a great idea.
Okay, I would like to comment that I would like to be on the subcommittee. I feel very committed to this. I've been taking copious notes. I feel like I've really heard what you have to say. So I would like to also volunteer for that. We have space for one more. Chair Wright. Commissioner Ledger.
I'd like to volunteer as well.
Okay, Commissioner Ledger. So we have Garcia Arcos, Ledger, and Brown. Is there anyone else who would like to throw their hat in the ring?
I'm very excited and passionate about this. I will be traveling for most of this time, so I won't be available, and I feel that I put it all in writing, so I trust you guys. Thank you.
And just a reminder that we will be bringing this back multiple times, so you will be reviewing it. So I would like to make a motion that we move forward with a PACS subcommittee that includes Commissioners Garcia Arcos, Ledger, and Chair Brown, with the idea that they will report back at the August meeting with a preliminary discussion item / draft report.
Is that your motion?
So we have a motion and a second.
I'll second that. Nope.
Motion carries 6-0 to approve ad hoc committee Chair Brown, Commissioner Garcia Arcos, and Commissioner Ledger to report back to the PACS Commission at the August meeting.
Whatever date that is. Yay, thank you all. This is exciting.
Yay.
Okay. Here we go. That's it in terms of agenda items. Final comments from the commission, from staff. Commissioner Ledger.
I'll be quick. I forgot to mention this in my opening comments. I went to the senior center again and talked with some people and ended up volunteering with my son to pass out groceries tomorrow. I know you've always been looking for opportunities for teenagers. So I was thinking we should probably talk with the senior center and see what opportunities there can be for teenagers, because that's a great demographic for them to be working with. That's all.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Real quick. Thank you. I played pickleball with a couple of the moms here. We started playing during the day. Fabulous. Thank you so much. And a friend of mine actually played at night. So it's going great. They're going to have an instructor there soon, and they'll have what they call fun tournaments where you can just pick up the paddle and you don't even need to know what you're doing, and then put you in a round robin. So it'll be really fun. They have some great ideas. So I want to thank everybody for their patience about dogs off leash and pick.
And I want to thank Director Gruner. Thank you so much for the support of this, and city staff. Really appreciate it. Really excited for what we're doing moving forward. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:57 p.m. Have a good night.